Final episode of Facecheck with Zyrene dead. He's passed away. All right,
I actually haven't even seen this fucking. I haven't seen this this tweet from Oslaw yet. I gotta respond. Holy shit.
No, you respond live on the show.
I will respond live on the show, but yeah, I mean, like anything that I say, this is what people don't understand. I swear to God, anything that I say, I'm willing to like defend. Like if I really believe it, right? I'll either say I'm wrong or I'll defend it. But like somebody like this, like how does he not know that he's gonna get a fucking response? Like, how does he not know he's gonna get flamed because of this?
Maybe I think there's like people like Oslad, Andy, Steve, like that are owners of teams that are doing really successful. I guess TSM not so much. Like they just they can get away with saying stuff and having their own opinions. I'm pretty curious what you'll say to him.
We'll see. I want to see you put him in the dumpster. All right, here we go. Final episode of Facecheck of the regular season. Because the regular season is over, we had one hell of a group of games here in week 9. Got myself, D-Gon, Loco, and Dom to break down all the action as per usual on Mondays. Everyone, get your flame retardant jackets on because the heat is coming from Dom and Loco. And to be honest, myself, because Golden Guardians lost. It's awesome. All right, let's get into things. This last week, week 9, all the games are in the books. We also had a caster swap because Flowers is like, I got to protect my $1 million voice. Actually, it was probably right saying that because we had 3 tiebreakers at the end. Classic CLG doing the CLG. Golden Guardians obviously not making it in. 100 Thieves looking like they're going to make it in, not going to make it in. And even before that, all the teams that were supposed to make it in, Golden Guardians and Optic, lost. They all lost. It gave the teams. Clutch Gaming is somehow in the playoffs, guys. What happened this week? Tom, what are your big takeaways from week 9?
I guess my big takeaways. So the thing that impressed me the most, like this is what I got from the week. My whole takeaway from this week is like Cody's son is actually fucking good. Because I haven't been watching Clutch that closely. Yeah, like, I've been watching them, but like I've kind of just been like, oh, they kind of run around and suck. And I was like, how are they winning these games? I honestly think that Cody's son is super, super underrated. I think he's like one of the better ADs in the league. Definitely this split. I think he did one of the best. He just doesn't make big mistakes like he used to. Like he used to have a bunch of big blunders that would like throw the game. Everyone remembers the famous Tristana play at Worlds where he accidentally fat-fingered his flashed directly into the enemy team, killed himself, killed xMithy. Immortals loses the game right there. Everyone remembers that, right? But like he doesn't do that anymore, really. Like he plays lane pretty well, does what he's supposed to do, carries the game later on. Like Cody's son is actually the only reason why Clutch is in playoffs, in my opinion.
I agree with Cody's son being better, but god damn, he used to be bad. So he used to win lane or do decently in lane, and whenever it would get to team fight, he would make a misstep or not use a summoner or not use a defensive tool and get auto-deleted. And that is one of the worst traits to have as an AD carry. Yep. Like the fact that you get insta-deleted in team fights after farming for so long. He just fixed that one problem and he became a million times better as a player in Elite.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he fixed it as early as 2018 spring when you really look at his career, right? Like so 2017, he played. So up until this split, he's played 3 splits in the LCS, right? 2017 spring was his first split. He joins Immortals. Team had Ole and Flame on it. It was just kind of like all over the place. No one really knew. Dardoch was apparently pretty toxic in that team, from what I've heard, and the team kind of just crumbled, crashed and burned. Next split, gets xMithy on his team, right? Just only roster change, xMithy for Dardoch, goes to Worlds, gets second in NA, gets the finals, goes to Worlds. That split. Next split, joins 100 Thieves, like completely new team. Him and Meteos were like, in my opinion, like some of the better players on that team, the consistent players of that team. Gets second again, 2018 finals, and then gets benched like halfway through 100 Thieves summer split for Rikara, and then they just crash and burn and lose again. Like, I don't know if he has an attitude problem or something, but if you look at the progression of his career, he has been like one of the top ADs in the league for all the splits after the first one. Since coming into the league. So it's like, I don't know why people don't respect him, but I think other players respect him from what I've heard around the league. Like, I know Doublelift thinks he's pretty good, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes, but I'm actually like, I really hope that we get to see him on another top team because I think that he's one of like the NA AD carry talents that can actually like help elevate the region.
Well, I think we're rewriting history a bit. I mean, Cody Dunn was the thing for a reason. It wasn't just Worlds. I think he had shaky performances on 100 Thieves, and if you looked at that roster,
and 100 Thieves. Wait, how did he have shaky performances on 100 Thieves? He was in
summer. I thought he had shaky performances, which is why Rikara was even being brought into the conversation in the first place.
I didn't even think it was shady performances. I think it was just literally he didn't want to play the game the same way that everyone else did. And it was like, okay, Cody and Meteos had one problem with the team. They just removed both, whatever. And then like and then they just ended up getting significantly worse. So like, I don't know. I think that in general, he had the best stats. He had the best stats of all AD carries in spring 2018. Like his damage per minute was fucking insane. I wish we could bring that up right now. 2018 spring stats, his damage per minute was insane. Like this guy has actually been good every time he's been in the LCS, besides for his first split.
All right.
Like
I want to correct some shit. So Cody Sun being like just a garbage can in team fights was still a thing in 2018. I still remember games in 2018 where he gets instantly deleted. And another thing is 100 Thieves set him up so well. Like in terms of they played around bot lane so much, and the only team they did that worse than was Team Liquid. I don't think Cody's garbage. I think he's like much better in 2019, but in 2018 he had so many things like set up easily for him. So he's I still think in 2018 it would still be like double Zben, Sneaky. Like even Apollo was better back then. Like I don't think Cody Sun was like a.
You think in spring of 2018, because like summer 2018 I don't even count. He played like half the split, and the team was just in shambles. Like after Meteos left, they had Anda come in. Anda was inting every game. Like I don't consider that really like a split for me. That's like the team falling apart, and he just like gets subbed out week 6, and then Ricard comes in and it's like it's complete aberration to me. But when you look at like his stats in 2018, like. I don't think in spring 2018 I would have argued that like what TSM got 6th that split.
Yeah, that's when they got knocked out by
they got 6th. They got knocked out by Clutch. You had Sven and Mithy just losing lane like almost every game. Like Sven and Mithy were a terrible bot lane. Everyone really attributed that like mainly to Mithy, but I don't think that based off like what I saw in 2018, I was like, damn, Sven's a god. It was like shit. Like they're supposed to be the best bot lane in the West, and they look kind of bad bot lane. They seemed worse than I expected, at least.
Yeah. Regular season Sven was the KDA leader at 8.8. Number 2 was actually Cody Sun at 8.2. However, in playoffs, Sven had a KDA of 1. Double Lift had a KDA of like 35, and like
they got crushed by Clutch though. So it's like it's hard to incorporate those. Do you have their damage percentage? Or
I got it.
Their damage stats?
See if I can find that.
Or like damage per minute. I don't want damage percentage. I want damage per minute.
100 Thieves played in a way that was so ideal for Cody Sun though. They just kept playing to bot lane, left someday on an island, and they would team fight and they would constantly
But I think that speaks to like how good he is. If they're viewing him as like, okay, he's our main win condition, we're gonna play to him, and then they're getting 2nd in the league off that, like I think that's what you want out of your players. There's other people they get played to, and then they get played to, and you know the team still sucks. So I think being able to like output the damage and like carry the fucking game is super important.
Yeah, but I think that also was part of why they wanted to do that. They're like, we have a superstar in the top lane, and someday that is on an island. I remember, I think we made him cry one game with Golden Guardians because he was getting dove over and over and over again and just absorbing a lot of pressure, and they didn't do anything on the bottom side of the map, and we won. Cody Sun's the largest damage percentage in the spring at 35%, 36%. Stixxay was 2nd at 31. Damage per minute was Stixxay at 701, Cody at 684, and then Sneaky was 3rd in both those categories. So you're right. You're right that he put out a lot of damage, and they did play around him a lot.
Yeah, that's crazy that Stixxay had 701, but even 684 or whatever, like those are insane.
Those are insane numbers, yeah.
Like what is a average damage like number right now? Like average,
it's like,
I don't think that
it's like 600 was the highest. I think like the highest.
I don't think Double if it has 700 fucking damage per minute. That's insane.
Sona.
What the fuck?
No, it's also it's because when games go long, like when you have longer games, like you have these like later half team fights where you're doing like crazy amounts of team fights.
Team fight,
so it skews it a lot. So all right, Daniel, get us out of here. Let's go talk about last week. All
right, so looking overall last week, let's talk about the teams that made it to the playoffs. As expected, Team Liquid stay on top, and they find themselves in the number 1 position. Never really in doubt. They pulled out the glacial composition, which was pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
It's just like an aberration. We can talk about what Ocelot tweeted, but I don't want to talk about that game. That game is just troll.
Yeah, let's just talk about Team Liquid in general. What is the issue that they have going into playoffs that might be the only weakness they have? Anything?
Early game. I just think their early game kid, like they can die in lanes and stuff, and they can get exploit. Like I think that somebody like Sven could potentially like out aggress somebody like Smithy in a game and like just carry a game based off like just pressure. So like they can collapse early, but I don't think there's any team in NA consistently good enough to do that. So like my prediction is that they're just going to win another split.
I don't think their early game is gonna be that big of a problem in playoffs. TL just in regular split is a different team than they are in playoffs. So
35 KDA last split for double lift.
Wait, so what would you say is their biggest weakness? Even if you think that they...
What if they is their biggest weakness? Maybe
it has to be early game, right? Like
probably like if you have to pick a phase in the game, probably early game. But I would say TL's like biggest weakness is like kind of their one dimensionless and like how they play. They will always towards bot lane.
Play to bot lane.
Yeah, through mid and then into bot. Sometimes directly through bot, but that's when they have like mid and jungle already winning. It's not even like a really weakness. Like TL's incredibly well rounded. It's when you get to international stages, that's where it'll actually be a problem. But in terms of NA, they almost have no weakness.
So again, I think I made this point in like episodes past about Impact's ability to play those carries, but the carries that he has played are ones where he's just kind of surviving on the top lane, a GP, a Vlad, until he gets to late game and then can pop off, right? And we've seen that happen. But it's not like he has been playing specific carries, right? Like I feel like
I just don't worry about him. Like I think that Impact will always show up and always be good when it matters. Like he's just such a consistent player. I'm with Reapered on this one, where I just think that like he is the last person to worry about because he can just do whatever needs to be done to win the game.
So when carries like Irelia, Akali, Vladimir, like those are the core carries and you need to play them really well, and like 2v2 with those carries are extremely important. That's where I think it showed a little bit where Impact isn't as great on carries. He's not as great when he's like getting resource, but the meta moved away so much from that. Like the top tier top lane picks right now would be like GP, Aatrox, what else? I'm trying to think.
Aatrox is the main one. It's like Aatrox, and then I honestly think Rumble is pretty good. It's like it's a little bit underrated.
Yeah,
we see Huni pulling it out like a ton, but I think that just in general that champion is good.
Yeah, meta move.
Ruben played it and it looked well too.
Meta moved away so much from like hardcore top lane carries into more like these independent island carries. So I think the meta is really good for Impact too. So yeah. They're not really gonna have problems regarding that.
When did that happen? Just like the move away from the top lane carries back down to the bottom side of the map?
I think it's just the champions got nerfed.
Yeah, I mean, Irelia, Akali aren't the Irelia, Akali of Springfoot anymore.
Yeah, just that you see just the champions get nerfed and Conquer gets nerfed a bunch and all this shit, and then at the end of the day, you're just left with like it's the same thing that happens with jungle. It's like you nerf the experience enough, then it just becomes like tank meta. And like top isn't necessarily tank meta, but it's just like a whatever meta. Like you just play whatever the fuck you want out there. You can play Renekton into Aatrox if you want, and then you just sit in your lane, you CS evenly, no one plays towards you, and then like hopefully you show up to team fights and you're at least able to like create a distraction. So I don't know. I just think that in general, like it's just top lane is just not that important to winning the game. Like I think right now you should be playing towards like mid and bot.
Sure.
So it used to be the 4 flex picks: Irelia, Akali, Sylas, Ryze. I'm pretty sure all 4 of them got nerfed, and the meta just moved so heavily away from that. Like that's when we could have discussions about, is Licorice going to be better than Impact? Is Broken Blade going to be better than Impact? Because they were better than Impact on those carry champions, and when they got resources. But when it moved away from that, Impact is like clearly the best top laner.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so no issues with TL. We don't think that they're going to have any complications going to their 4th championship in a row. Like.
Not really. I mean, I feel like
we're getting real assumptions here.
I mean, based on what you've seen, I think you're just crazy if you don't predict TL to win. Like, as the clear favorites right now. Like, obviously there's chances that other people win, but like, I'd have to give them at least like 70% chance to win.
Yeah, I was gonna say, give me a percentage. What's your percentage you're looking at?
70% chance that TL.
That's really high.
That's like insanely high. That's even when like Patriots are dominating NFL, they get something like 50 or 40%, 70%. I mean,
has Patriots ever won 3 in a row?
They won 2 in a row. I don't think they've ever won
3. 2 in a row. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I would say 70%.
70%? Yeah. Oh man, just by like, man, because I do look at odds a lot for sports, so it's hard to give a team like 70% against the field. But for TL, I guess it would be up there, like 60%, 50% against the field. Holy shit. Who do you have as like the biggest contenders?
It has to be C9. Just C9, really. Like, CLG, they just don't they don't sell me on how they play. Like, for some reason, it just seems like they're the team that doesn't have as clean macro as C9 and TL. So it feels like even if they win a game or two, it feels like they could never really beat them in a series because they're just going to make mistakes around objectives and end up just throwing massive leads. And I feel like you cannot do that against a team like TL. Like, no team can beat TL except for C9 right now in NA, I think.
In a best of 5.
In a best of 5,
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
In playoffs.
C9 is like the obvious one. Other than C9, it would be like CLG or like TSM, like overperform forms out of their head. But
CLG didn't get the bye. They're not going to win the championship. They did the classic CLG. All they had to do was win one game, and they choked. We don't need to get into that.
My gut tells me that TSM is going to be much better in playoffs, that they're going to like perform in playoffs just because like Reggie steps in and they kind of like always get there if that's the formula. But just like as somebody who's been watching the games and like as somebody who's trying to analyze things, I don't think you can say that like TSM could contend. Like I feel like you're kind of
have to overperform. They have to overperform out of.
They don't know who their jungler is.
I mean, I think it's Acadian.
Apparently, Acadian was out at a festival this weekend. Like,
was he actually?
Just kidding. He was not. He was not actually. I don't want to spread false information. He was sick at home, being a good teammate, not at a festival.
Do we know? Yeah. Did they say anything about like what it was? He was just sick.
He said he was sick. He tweeted out. He's like, I don't know why people are saying that. I was sick at home watching the game.
I mean, it wasn't really important for them because like, as long as like the bottom teams didn't all start winning against like all the top teams, like all the fucking 7 and 9. 8, well, not really. Like, as long as they didn't start just like destroying all the top teams, then yeah, you're gonna get TSM 4th place no matter what. So I don't think they really cared about the weekend.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Let's talk about the Glacial Comp thing. What did you think of them playing Glacial Comp?
It's just absolutely disrespectful, but it doesn't matter because they won. I don't think it's this will lead into the tweet of the week later, but I don't think it was a, hey, let's try to push our limits and find something and break the meta. I think this was like, we're already in, we've already dumpstered these teams, let's just BM them. And Coach Kane being like, okay, here's your treat. Here you go. Here's your reward for having a dominant season. Let's show off. And then they did. Like, that's what I think it was.
I don't care about it at all. I mean, it's just it's a for fun game. You've seen people troll that game. That's a different game than the other one that we're going to talk about. But yeah, that's a for fun game. It doesn't affect the standings at all. It doesn't affect the competitive integrity of the league. That is a game that's completely meaningless. Doesn't hurt or help anyone. It's the last game of the season. You can pick whatever the fuck you want. Like, people have done this shit before. They've been doing this same thing for years. I remember a famous one was like the Alliance one where they had like Rammus top and like Ashe jungle and all this shit, and they're playing. Everyone swapped roles. Like, it's fine to do that, but it's not fine to do that if it affects anyone's ability to get a higher standing in the league. Like, if the league is not completely, if the two teams have any effect on people around them, it is not okay to troll.
Which brings us to our tweet of the week, brought to you by our very own Christian LiquidDominate Rivera. So we take a look at it. Let me pull it up. I saved it on my phone somewhere. All right, here we go. A lot of people are praising G2 for actually picking Garen off of a fan sign, but I think it's bullshit personally. Should try to play your best every game in order to be fair to the competition of the league. That was my LiquidDominate.
So
voice.
if I'm gonna like clarify it, just because apparently not everyone is super intelligent that works in esports. I mean every game that actually matters. So like when I say like every game, like it means every game that actually matters for people in the league. So the last game, that's fine, whatever. It doesn't matter for either team. Who cares? It's people always troll that game. If you are playing somebody that still is fighting for playoff race or fighting for a bye, and you just give them a free win by trolling, that affects the standings or that affects the quality of the entire playoffs. Because let's say you try-harded versus one of the other teams, one of their competitors, you get a free win versus them, then they get to play a team that's trolling, they get a free win. Now you don't have the best 6 teams in playoffs because Rogue has, like 1 less win than Vitality because you inted versus them. Like that to me is just it's so clearly bullshit that I'm really surprised that people within esports, like I know that Ozlon's supposed to be like that, or I know that he is the CEO of G2, but I can't believe that he doesn't know that that's fucked up. Like, you should know, especially if you've been in LCS, you should know that is fucked up to do. But I mean, I guess people just like want to pretend like, oh, G2 always plays random shit. Yeah, I mean, they do.
Which
but
brings us to Tweet of the Week Part 2, which is G2 saying, "Dear Team Liquid lol, it wasn't a Garen or an Annie, but that was pretty good. We should trade draft ideas next time. Hashtag LCS love. G2."
Yeah.
I guess part 3, which is Ocelot's response, which is a lot of people are praising Liquid for actually picking a Glacial comp from TFT, but I think it's bullshit personally. Should try to play your best every game in order to be fair to the competition in the league at Liquid Dominate.
So parody
Well,
on.
I guess I did do a Latino accent or a Spanish accent. But
And you can read my reply to that if you want.
All right.
Oh, okay. Let me see. I didn't get it. Thought you could tell the difference between the situation's unlucky understanding of competitive integrity, I guess. Damn, dude.
All right.
I thought you were gonna go harder, to be honest.
Yeah, no. All right. So let me ask about the Ocelot thing. So when TL played TSM, when they played Glacial Comp, if it had any kind of amount of effect on the seeding, like let's say if TSM won that game, they go from like 5-4 or from like 6-5, would it still not been okay for you?
6-5 or 4, or like, I mean, that's gray area, really. I think that in general, though, it's not okay to troll even that game. Like, I remember, so there was a game that I wanted to troll as a player. It was the it was the summer split tiebreaker versus CLG, right? Where it was like, okay, the first place team gets to play against TSM in semis, because like we both had buys.
Yeah,
it was
we
like
got
the first
fourth,
place team
yeah.
gets to play TSM, right? Because TSM, I think, got 5th or 6th. Yeah, they got 5th that season. And Tip got 4th. So we would have much rather lost to CLG in the tiebreaker and played versus Tip, because we had a much better record against them throughout the season. So all we had to do was int that game, and then that was going to be the playoffs. And our management didn't allow us to do it. They're like, no, like this is going to fuck up the league. Like we should just play our best. And if we're actually the best team, we'll end up winning in playoffs. Like, well, that was the motivation that we had.
That's the Slans? The Slans doing something good in esports?
Slans?
No, they're my
it's
Liquid.
TLs.
Yeah, this
The
TL.
TLs,
Yeah.
All right. I was like, what?
What the fuck, Daniel? Anyways, go ahead. Now.
Go ahead.
Wait,
So
Slans, where did you get that from?
I did.
Brain fire,
I thought it
brain
was
fire.
Oh,
Brain fire.
dig.
My bad.
Holy shit.
All right, so you forced you to play right. Since then, you've stuck to not trolling those games. But I think
That same team played Glacial Comp. That same owner.
that's what I was about to
Steve was
say.
about to sub in for the final game if he was allowed. That same owner.
Yeah, but
like,
that's
what's
fine.
your thing?
Like, do people actually not know what the difference is? Like, I don't understand how people can't like
Because
determine.
so you're saying because it has effect on when
Yes,
it doesn't have
if
effect.
it affects anyone. If it affects other people in the league, like unless they trolled versus every one of those teams that's going to be in that competition for the 6th place spot, unless they played those all evenly, like they gave the same effort to all those games. Obviously, like you're gonna have good and bad games, but as long as they're putting in like their maximum effort versus like a couple of the teams, they should be putting in their effort for all the teams, because at the end of the day, you want a stronger competition for LEC. If you want LEC to be the best league possible, which I mean, obviously you can have a different like mindset where it's just only for entertainment and you don't actually care about the quality of your league. But if you want your league to be the best league possible, you want the best teams playing in playoffs, because that's going to give you for better games. And if better teams are playing in that final like playoff scrim cycle, everyone's just going to improve more. It's going to give you a better chance going into Worlds.
Is it less worse if they win anyways, right? Because G2 won anyways. So
No, they didn't.
Or I mean, G2. You're
G2
right, sorry.
hard lost.
But
They
the fact
hard
that
lost. They didn't. He was
they
reading his
did
abilities
win.
on stage.
if they did win, would it have mattered anyways?
People wouldn't
Yes,
talk
the
about it as
principle
much.
still matters. People wouldn't talk about it. The principle still matters. It's like, okay, I don't know. I mean, it's like if you do something fucked up and it ends up working, people are not going to get on you as much as if it like bombs, right? So, I mean, I would like still when I was watching it, like from the draft, I'm like, this is like kind of fucked up. Like that was the first thing I thought. I'm like, this is like a little disgusting. Like I saw the fan side, I'm like, okay, they're actually picking Garen, and then I saw like them playing it. I'm like, they don't actually know how to play Garen. Like it's not like they had practiced it a little bit and it wasn't like the optimal pick, but it still worked. It's like it's an auto lose pick. They pick that, they instantly lose the game, and it's like, okay, if you're gonna play like auto lose picks on stage and you're actually gonna play them that terribly, like you clearly didn't have any idea. But like, how is that not fucked up? Because like you have to put yourself in the other people's perspective. Imagine being Splice and watching that game. It's like, oh, this team that fucking was 13-1 in the league, shit on every fucking body, shit on us twice. Like they're just literally fucking giving our opponents, our competition, a free win. Because like you're getting it, like you're prepping the whole week, and you think about the playoff standings. You're like, okay, we're tied with these guys in the standings. They'll probably lose to G2, just like we did earlier. Like the games that matter are like when we play them, or like whatever, you know. Like that's your mindset going into the week. then you get into that shit, and then G2 just gives them a free win, like literally win trades them on stage. Like, how does what? Like, why is that okay? Why is that okay? It's just weird because it's like it's G2 and they're loved, and I like G2 too. Like I actually really enjoy watching G2 play. They're my favorite team to watch. I'm like the biggest perk shill you'll ever see. But that is just still like not okay, and I'm never gonna support that shit. Like people are there's no way that you could possibly ever change my opinion on.
All right.
So like,
I'll play devil's advocate. I'll play devil's
go.
advocate. If I'm good enough and like I can get my seeding, like and it's not gonna affect my final seeding. I have the right to have flair and do whatever the fuck I want to do. There is competitive integrity, but long as I'm still tryharding with the picks I have, if I'm still confident I'm gonna win at the end of the split, I have it as like kind of my victory lap, and I can do it early, and it is to taunt teams.
And there was a situation way back, Team Dark. Do you remember that one, Loco?
Yeah.
Over in the LCK? So Team Dark was a team in the, I think when it was called.
That situation's completely different because
Right. That's my point. That situation is different because they trolled in game. In game, they kind of open mid in a game, and it's the fastest game in competitive Korean history. I think it was like 14 minutes or something like that. And that is different than this situation, right? I agree with Loco on this, that there are penalties for teams that are trolling, but if they've gone the whole season achieving this point, then yeah, they can do that as long as they're not opening mid. You're saying the game's over because they picked that. I kind of agree with Loco with if they tried hard and it didn't work out, that's on them, but they had the leeway to do that because they got to that point.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a selfish way to view it. That's if you want to, like, if you don't care about the league and you only care about yourself. That's the only way that's like mindset is applicable, right? Like,
it's not black and white. It's not black and white as like I only care about the league or I only care about myself. It's them prioritizing, right? I mean, they're by them doing that, they're not saying fuck the league. They're saying like, oh, we want to be like stylish, like we want to do whatever we want to do.
I don't know. I think it's I think 100% they're fucking the league. They're like, I don't even care about the quality of the league. Like, I don't care if we play against like the 6-way teams. Like, you're all shit. Like, we're gonna fucking win anyway. Just you guys fucking play each other. It doesn't matter if it's Vitality, Splice, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. That's how I see it. It's them giving like the finger to the league, which is like, I mean, it's okay to do. I mean, sure they can give the finger to the league. I'm not saying like they can't. I'm just saying I don't support it.
Okay.
Like,
and knowing Riot, they're probably like, oh wow, that was great. That was a lot of fun. I love the fact that G2 tried something.
There was a significant difference. I watched both broadcasts, and Riot knows the difference. Like, they were not supporting like the Garen pick, like they were supporting it originally. Like, okay, it's kind of crazy that like Garen happened, but even like by the end of the game, the commentators were like, all right, let's never see the Garen again. Seriously, like just don't do that anymore. Like, we should never see this type of thing on stage. Like, it was kind of funny, whatever. Let's not do it again. This Glacial comp, they know the game doesn't matter, so they're promoting it. They're like, oh, 6 Glacials TFT. They're putting up like funny infographics because the people that manage the league don't want to see that shit. I don't know. I just don't understand how like people cannot understand it's at least fucked up. Like,
no, there's definitely a fucked up part of it, but it is within their rights to be fucked up. It is within their right to do that.
Sure. Okay, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
You can be a dick if you want to be a dick. Sure.
It's not illegal to be a dick. It is a dick move.
I'm fucking dick to people, but I know when I'm being a dick. Like, I know when I'm being a dick, and I'm like, yo, that's fucked up. You know? Like,
yeah.
It just seems like they don't acknowledge that what they did was fucked up.
I think that they've been just getting away with so much. Like, the line's been blurred, and then this was like a good. It wasn't good that it happened, but it happened, and then like now we know where the line is somewhat. I mean, I don't think they're gonna do like stuff like Garen again. I'm pretty sure they'll do creative picks, but they won't do stuff like Garen, Teemo. Like, they won't go like that level.
Well, I mean, they came. Okay, so they said that they. So the story went like this. There was a fan sign apparently the week before, right? That had a pick. And they were like, oh, why did you pick Annie? Oh, because it was on the fan sign. I think it was Annie. Maybe it was Trismid. I think it might have been
Trismid. It was Annie. Yeah.
No, I think it was Trismid for Caps. But whatever. So they have a fan sign, and then Caps was asked on stream what he said. Then there was a Reddit thread about like how G2 picks champs on stage. And he said, oh, somebody just had a fan sign, and that's why we did it, right? So I feel like they kind of like, they're like, oh, let's like swag. Like, now we have to do it. Like, somebody else picked a fan sign. Let's prove that this is what we actually do. I think that there was an element of that allowed it to be like more fucked up in their heads, is because like they wanted to just win with that pick just to like prove to the world like that's how good we are. We're doing what we're saying.
That's what they're doing. That's literally what they're doing. Like we're gonna take some suggestions. Okay, we'll win with that pick. That's how fucking good we are.
And to be fair, I think we will see the Garen again at some point.
I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked.
I don't think
you think so? I think they are so confident in their abilities. They're like, okay, we trolled with Garen without having a game plan for it. Let's make a game plan around the Garen. You don't think that they would do that? This is a team with that kind of hubris.
I don't think so.
I think
because the rest of their games are going to be decently important. I feel like after maybe in the regular season, they're going to troll again right after. Like it seemed like they tried much harder against Fnatic, right?
Yeah.
And the game versus Fnatic meant maybe less. Like aren't Fnatic and G2 pretty much guaranteed to both have playoff buys?
I don't know the exact EU ranking, so it's hard to say.
Okay. I as far as I remember, they're both really high up there. So like that game actually probably matters less than the game against Splice in terms of the competitive integrity of the league. So I don't really I just don't really see them trolling anymore. Like it seems like they kind of were embarrassed by it. I think they know what they did was fucked up and they're like, okay, we're just not going to do that again. But I just don't think that they for some reason want to like communicate that to the community because then the community will just like realize that it actually was like not okay.
No, that part I actually agree with. I think G2 has an image they want to uphold about like, hey, we don't care, like we're so good, like we're like the evil, like whatever masterminds, like they want to give off that image. So internally they might be like, okay, this shit was fucked up, we're not going to do it again, and we're going to make sure we stay focused and like we don't go out of our ways to troll. Like they'll say that internally and they'll fix stuff internally, but they won't externally say, oh, this was fucked up, because they want to maintain that image, and that is like a core charm of G2. Like
that, they don't give a fuck image. I mean, I don't know. I thought the core charm of G2 was just like the fact that they were like really good as friends. Like that's what I thought, which I guess kind of ties into like being this we don't give a fuck team. But I thought the thing was just like it just felt like when you watch them, it's like, oh, it's just like a bunch of like bros playing League. That's what I liked about them.
There hasn't been a team this boastful and this successful in the West in such a long time. So I do think that it's certainly a core charm of G2.
Last team like that, Locos TSM. That's what I would say. Like to me, they built their brand like TSM, but with this evilness rather than like this fuck it Bay Life thing where it's we win championships. You want to come here? We're the kings of Europe, or whatever they are. And so it was like the emperors of Europe. And so that was they're all about winning at any cost and embarrassing you while doing it. I think it wasn't just about winning; it's winning and embarrassing you. And I think they do a fantastic job of that. And even with this like slip up and mistake of not winning and trolling too hard, by what you guys said, not acknowledging it and just moving on. They've learned a pretty solid lesson at a very small cost.
From my perspective, though, the thing that I really liked about how they were playing, right, is because they would embarrass you by just how good they were. That was the thing that was so embarrassing, really. It wasn't even like their picks were like deemed troll. Like, people were like, oh, that's an innovative pick. And then they would play it, and it's like, oh, if they played in that way, is it good? And the whole world would pick them up. And they would just copy what G2 is doing because it's actually good. I thought their charm was that they were actually so good at the game, and that's like what made it so like punishing to lose to them, because they would smash you so hard. I didn't think it was because they were like disrespectful to like, or they like looked down on the other teams or anything.
Oh my god. What? Them tweeting like, oh, celebrating 2-0 weekend even before like the weekend starts. Like they were definitely like trolling other teams. They were disrespectful to other teams. That was definitely part of their brand, Dom. Like
but I mean, I think that the main thing was just that they were like they were like, but that's different to me than disrespecting in terms of like we're gonna play less against you. That's like, oh, we're really confident in ourselves, we're gonna beat you, and then they would go out and try hard and beat them really badly. Like it didn't feel like it was like, oh, we aren't even trying versus you. Like they would like lose a game like by trolling and then be like, we just didn't give a fuck. Like I felt like they always gave a fuck and they were just super confident and like smug.
All right, Daniel, get us to another topic.
Yeah, this Dom's level of disrespect is just like so much deeper than the average human. The average human's at that point where Dom finally gets disrespected is already crushed and broken inside. All right, so we're talking about a lot of innovative and weird swapping picks. Well, talking about swapping, we had my boy definitely come back in on Cloud9 and lay the smackdown to his opposing AD carry. It was fantastic. Cloud9, your number 2 seed. After also CLG pulling a CLG and having the bye and the NALCS Summer Championship lined up for him and choking it away. Cloud9, they played all of their substitutes this week. No, they played 2 of their substitutes. Unfortunately, Kumo didn't get it, and Licorice played, but Definitely and Blabber get the substitutes in and both win. Definitely winning against Golden Guardians, Blabber winning in that final game against who they play? Who did they play? I forgot who they played in the regular season, but then they came back and beat CLG in the final, in the tiebreaker for the bye. Cloud9 is your number 2 team. We've all deemed them as the team that has the lion's share of the 30% chance that Team Liquid will lose. How do you feel about them now rotating on in with their players, their form going into playoffs, and who do you think their sub is?
You can go first, Tom.
C9. I think that their sub is just gonna be Blabber. I just think he's just better.
They get 2.
Than the other ones.
They get 2.
They get 2, so it's Blabber and then Definitely probably. Licorice, I think, is just good up there, unless he has an injury.
Yeah,
that's what I said. That's what I said last week. That's what I'm going to say this week again.
I don't keep up with Academy, so I'm not sure who's been playing. I know C9 already made Academy playoff, but that would also be a really big clue. And Kumo not playing, I think, is like a big thing. Like, he didn't play at all last weekend, so they're pretty set on Licorice. So, and also, I'm not sure how C9 feels about Sneaky. Like, Definitely getting to play versus Golden Guardians, like, that was the perfect game to play Definitely in. Definitely is going to be a little bit spiteful towards Golden Guardians. He really wants to win, and they got the win off, so what?
Just a little bit.
That's players will never fucking say it on stage, and they won't be vocal about it, but when you play against your former team, especially like a team you got traded during the middle of the season, or you were benched in the middle of the season, like, you are trying hard so much, like, you want to fucking like kill the other team. So I think for sure Definitely is going to be one of their sub, and I also agree, like, Blabber is going to be one of their sub, but I have no idea if they'll ever use Blabber during playoffs, because Sven Skaren looks so fucking good, where I just feel like Blabber is their best substitute player, but when does he even play?
I mean, I think he could just do like the game 1 type thing that we discussed last week.
Why?
Because he has a very aggressive style, so that can put pressure on a team early in a series. Like, it makes a team like have to respect you and play differently. And it also allows Sven to like read the game from an outside perspective, because being a jungler, like, you can gain so much from just watching a game with fog completely off and just like understanding like tendencies and have like a good mindset going into the next game. So that's the only way I see him playing. But I don't think he's ever like a better player than Sven. It just could be worth giving him a game to throw off the other team. And if he gets hot, you know, like, let's say he just like really shits on the game, because he's a pop-off player. He can take over a game and carry. Let's say he has a super pop-off game 1, you put him again game 2, and then you just play him until he loses. That type of thing. But that's the only reason I see him playing.
The way
Go ahead,
Loco.
Okay, you start a best of 5, 0-2 with Sven. Would you put in Blabber at that point?
0-2. It depends on the manner that they lost in, really. Like, you have to see how the games go. I don't think you can say absolutely like, oh yeah, he's 0, like, Sven is 0-2, fuck it, just throw him out, put in Blabber. If Sven is playing good games and they're playing him close, yeah, you keep Sven in. But if it's like really fucking bad, you're just getting hard shit on, you're just getting dicked up and down the rift, it's like, all right, well, maybe then we throw in Blabber because we just have to do something type shit.
So for me, the way I read Blabber getting play was like the reward before the end of the year, before the end of the season, because you do have that roster of guys that do want to get games and do deserve games, and that's something that you promote. I really worry if it was an injury concern, you keep Kumo there just in case, because you can have Sven play jungle up and down like for the remainder of the season. You have an MVP candidate there, and the Definitely Sneaky thing seems more pressing than the Blabber Sven Skaren thing.
Just the only thing that's weird is that, okay, so Sven is the best player out of all the players on C9, right? But Blabber is the best out of all the substitutes as well. So like Blabber is really good as well. So that's like why the only reason why I can see them actually giving time to Blabber is because he's like a legitimate LCS level player. It's not like you have like a sub jungler. You have a legitimate LCS early game jungle talent on your roster that could have like some benefit. Like, he can actually take over LCS games. He can carry LCS games. So Yeah, I mean, I think that that's just where it becomes kind of like murky, because if you have to have, like, if Licorice might not be able to play, like, there's any risk of him not playing, then you have to bring Kumo. But at the same time, like, just because Definitely and Sneaky are closer in skill, does that mean that you just don't bring Blabber? Because Blabber is, like, definitely a better player than Definitely, in my opinion.
I agree with everything you said, that he is a better player and probably more ready for the LCS. But then we've already established Sven is your best player. Why would you take out your best player, especially when there's another underperforming player you've identified with? And then, like, I agreed with everything you said about Blabber, you can put to Definitely, which is you have an LCS caliber player there that is hungry and wants to perform and has performed and has had a season and a half now of doing it on the LCS stage. Like, I think you have less of, I think you're a better team with Definitely in and Sven than you are Blabber in and Sneaky.
I mean, it's not saying he's not saying them playing Blabber plus Sneaky makes them better. He just saying Blabber gives them that extra dimension of starting the game. And as for like the Deathly versus Sneaky thing, I think it is somewhat motivation, because like Sneaky is doing a lot of other stuff and his performance dips. So, but also like playoff Sneaky is different. I think longest
Playoff
they get,
Sneaky.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I was gonna bring up this point too, but it's like I think that Sneaky has shown in high pressure situations to be more consistent than Sven. Like, Sven has had like a really bad tournament before, like Worlds 2017 was probably the worst he's ever played. So I feel like if like Sneaky will probably show up and be able to play tough situations. If the team gets down early, like Logo said, I feel like Blabber could have more impact than like switching Sneaky for Definitely. I don't feel like as AD carries you can have that much drastically different styles unless one of the players can play like all the bruisers bot lane. Like he can play like Yasuo and all the, and like Sona, like Swain might come back now. All the flex picks that you can put bot lane, unless you have like drastically different champion pools like that, I don't feel like 280 carries makes that much of a difference in terms of like how a game is played. But two different junglers can make a huge difference in terms of like the pace of the game.
All right, yo Daniel, get us to the next team.
All right. So Hanbok Shin, Coach Reaper has a lot to think about as we move on to playoffs. A team that has a lot to think about, but less time to do so, is CLG, because they had the bye in their hands. LCS dug up this really cool stat. Every time they've had the bye, they've won the LCS. And Weldon and the boys couldn't get over the finish line with the bye. They got dominated by Blabber in the tiebreaker game, and that, like, C9 looked really good. Also, CLG looked really bad in that tiebreaker game.
Dude.
But CLG, third place, so they do make it in. They do have the weaker, quote unquote, weaker of the playoff teams here going up against Optic. Thoughts on their form going into the playoffs here, and a recap of their season. Loco, I want you to go first.
Okay, small correction, they play Svenskeren instead of Blabber, but also, like, their overall season was a lot better than I expected it to be. Like, they really fixed their shit, and they came together as a team, and they were looking really good. But towards the end, it was such a CLG thing to do, to lose to 100 Thieves. I don't mind them losing to C9 that much, but, like, that was my big thing for CLG this week. Like, don't pull a CLG. Like, you have the bye in your hand. Like, it is within your full power. Like, the best case scenario is not playing the tiebreakers and beating the easier teams. The fact that they lose to 100 Thieves, like, makes me a little bit scared for playoffs, because that's where you need it to be clutch, and it's 100 Thieves. Like, that is the team, like, that was beatable for you guys, and you lose to that, and then you're forced to play C9 in tiebreakers. Oh my god, I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that 100 Thieves game, I was just really surprised by Ruin. Like, he's like, normally his thing is that he just doesn't do like the full like monkey shit, you know, like he doesn't do the full monkey deaths that some other top laners do, right? Like you'll see like Dokla hard int every now and then, like in a situation. But like Ruin played so bad in that 100 Thieves game. The fact that like amazing show, like his jungler plays the top side, sweeps the ward, goes invades the blue, he sees the fucking Sejuani on the blue, and then Sejuani just walks top and kills him. Like, he doesn't like flash the Sejuani Q or anything. He just eats the whole fucking combo, just dies to Sejuani for like no reason. It was so insane to me that like he was dying in those ways, and then he just entered the rest of the game. There was another play that he just didn't flash and just died again. He just died over and over again. He pretty much entered the whole game by himself, especially with the build he was going. Like, if you saw his build, like, he went AD Kennen. You play AD Kennen and then you fucking go 0-4. You've literally lost the game for your team because you can't split push, which is the main like thing of pressure, and then you're just a weaker version of AP Kennen in the team fight. It's really, really, really detrimental to your team if you're not able to make that pick work, and that's how you build. So, like, the 100 Thieves game was just super surprising because I thought that was one of the best parts about CLG is that they were, like, consistent. Most players played at close to the same level every game. Like, Wiggly was good, Power Viva was good, Ball Lane was consistent, and, like, Ruin would just, like, not int super hard. But then they just started inting, and it makes me scared because it's like, okay, now I'm not even sure if you can, like, guaranteed beat a 6th or a 5th place team. Like, before I was like, okay, they're top 3 are definitely way better than the bottom 4. Or, sorry, top 3 is way better than the bottom 3 in playoffs, right? We had CLG, C9, and TL head and shoulders above the other 3.
Yeah.
Now it's like, shit, I can see, like, they lost 100 Thieves. I can definitely see Optic or
yeah,
losing the Optic or Clutch. Like, there's nothing that makes me see this team, and I'm like, damn, I'm confident in this team. This team is goddamn consistent. They're just scary to watch them.
Dude,
yeah.
The thing that blows my mind is, why do you let 100 Thieves have Sejuani over and over again?
We talked about this last week. It's the same exact thing, yeah.
It's just so fucking stupid. Like,
it's so dumb.
100 Thieves is a comfort team. Like, they play well when they're comfortable, and when they get to that mid and late game stage, like, that's where they're fucking good. Like, don't let them have their tools. Like, Amazing and Fake God openly talk about, like, them working on their 2v2s, and that's how their core part of their gameplay. And it also shows, and people showed zero respect for it. Like, I think 100 Thieves is a team that can be really uncomfortable and that can be really bad if you push them out of their comfort zone. But the teams, like, either respect the OP picks enough or don't respect them as a team enough where they don't push them out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, we literally said last week on the show, we're like, you do not want to see Amazing playing Sejuani into your Jarvan on your team. That's just not what you want to give him as a matchup. We said, ban out the Sejuani, pick the Jarvan, force him on Silas or something. That's when he's going to look weak. You saw, like, Meteor Silas, how it was, like, a little bit flaky. I think that's going to be even worse for Amazing. So you just want to push him onto something that he's not super comfortable on. His Skarner, like, lost him a game earlier. He wins every Sejuani game, and then they just give it to him again, and they don't even respect it. Like, they see the Sejuani, and they don't even play back on the side where the Sejuani is. It just seems like such, like, brain dead mistakes. Like, there's no way. That's a scrim death. You know, that's not an LCS stage death when you're dying to Sejuani gank that you just saw like 30 seconds before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it would have been, and even to go a step further for CLG, if they would have had the game that they had against 100 Thieves, that was at least a close game. It was back and forth, exciting, even when they found themselves behind, lost a couple Barons. They found ways to fight back. If they would have shown that form in the tiebreaker game against Cloud9 instead of getting, like, absolutely ran over,
they were mentally
we
done.
wouldn't.
They were mentally
Yeah,
done.
we wouldn't have this conversation. We'd be like, okay, they pulled a CLG, but at least they look good. They looked really bad. They looked really bad against their primary competition, who's not even the one that's predicted to win it all right now. Like, is this team going to be able to reset?
Dude, LCS players are fucking babies. When you have to play 2 games, and when you have to play 2 games on the same day, if you lose the first game, for most players, you get affected so much going into the second game. I guarantee you, after they lost to 100 Thieves, they talked about things that were wrong. Like, they probably pointed out the Ruin death, and there was definitely, like, internal arguments, and the mentality of the team going into versus Cloud9 was different.
The inverse of that is Optic, who, like, lost earlier and then had to win 2 back-to-back and were able to do that. And I think that was a huge testament to Optic, and I think that's what scares me about CLG right now. It looks like they're lacking the championship edge to take care of business, right? If things go right, they're a solid team. They're a scary team. But if things go wrong, here was a fantastic opportunity to show their teeth, and they just weren't able to.
Yeah, I think that CLG is the type of team, well, they'll be better the lower that people are on them. So if people are like, CLG fucking sucks, I'm like, oh, then they feel, okay, we're going to play our fucking best. But when they actually are, like, supposed to be a top 3 team, it's like, all right, let's see if they're, like, of this standard. Are they the caliber of a top North American team? Then they're just like, oh shit, like, fuck, we're not even supposed to be here. We're, like, still learning our shit, and then they just, like, end up throwing and doing just weird shit until the end of the game. So I just feel like the fact that there's now pressure on them is probably going to make them play worse than they normally would if they were, like, considered a worse team or something.
It's the expectations. Like Optic has zero expectations. Like people are like, it's a miracle if you make playoffs. Like, oh man, you already fucked up. It's kind of bad. And where CLG is like, you need to clinch this by like, this is your one chance to prove that you're not a shitter team in the summer. Like you're not a shitter team in 2019, and they fail it. Like they can't match up to their expectations.
Hey, Dom, I was just dying because you literally described what it was like to be a CLG fan, dude.
Yep.
I'm like reformed, but like you just spoke straight to the heart immediately, and I was like, man, I hate loving this.
I know that thing firsthand. I was on a team like that. Like that was literally what TL was like. It was like, just please don't think we're good yet. Like we'll only perform well if people think we're shit. But like if you start thinking we're good and you start breaking down our play, like we're fucking awful, you know? So.
Double TP, like, and I think that's what was so great about CLG winning all those titles at the time, the 2 back-to-back. It felt like the expectations and how they felt about the expectations were like not equal, which is why they played so good. But as soon as they felt the expectations that were real, then that's when everything crumbled down, and that same roster just started going to crap. And I think we're seeing, for whatever reason, the same thing start to manifest here with the only player that's left there is Bio? No, like the only player left there is Stixay, right? Mm-hmm. So Stixay is the only one that is of that core, and for whatever reason, it still happened to itself.
Just who on that team feels like a winner right now? You know, like the only person that I feel like the passion from is Wiggly, because he's like, all right, I just want to be good. I'm like writing my, but it's like none of those people I feel like winners. Power of Evil hasn't made playoffs in the last 3 splits he's been in NA, right? He probably thought he was going to come here. He went to Worlds quarterfinals, right? Comes here and then can't even make playoffs.
Vote for me, All Stars. Vote for me. Yes.
Yeah, it's hard for him to feel like a winner. Like Biofrost left TSM and then instantly just could never win a game again. Like it just felt so doomed for him for the last 2 years. Stixay hasn't been to playoffs himself. I'm like, all these people change around him and he's still not able to like elevate the team. It's so hard for them to feel like, yeah, we deserve to be a top team. We belong in the top of the league. Like they probably just don't have that much self-confidence. They're like, oh shit, like this is probably going better than we expected, you know? Like I think that they think it's going better than they expected. Not that like, yeah, we're just fucking top 3 team. Like that's just what it is.
How do you feel whenever Power View plays LeBlanc? Because this was the second.
I hate it, LeBlanc. I hate it.
What do you hate?
It just looks like they can never like the way like they don't get like LeBlanc flanks and like things in there. Like he just goes in, does no damage, takes his R out, and then he just watches the rest of the fight and then they just lose it. Like it just never feels like, oh shit, this is like the LeBlanc that's like picking off the support constantly or just chunking out the backline. It never feels like that. It's just like, oh, they have a weak mage backliner. That's what it feels like.
I think he's decent as LeBlanc, but the whole team doesn't know really how to play around LeBlanc, and they don't play with vision very well, and they don't create pockets where people are forced to walk in, and Power Evil isn't aggressive enough, and they're just so used to him playing control mage. And I don't think Power Evil doesn't feel greedy enough to play LeBlanc right now. Like if you're gonna play LeBlanc, like you have to ask for ganks, like you have to ask for split push with people watching you, like you have to ask for your support to sweep certain places, to place pink wards, and he just doesn't do that.
So there's one thing that I think that he just doesn't have, which is really core to assassin play in competitive games, which is like understanding how to like get good angles on the team fight. Like when you play something like Talon, something like Akali, something like LeBlanc, etc., you benefit so much from like not fighting head on, but like coming from angles and just like being able to like leverage your mobility on the side of a fight. And somebody who does this really well, who's not even that good in assassins anymore, is Ryu. Like when I was watching the 100 Thieves games, if you watch how he plays Akali, he is constantly looking for the flank. He's always like, as soon as they group up, like his teammates will start hitting Dragon, start hitting Baron. He's going over the wall, looking for an angle, pink warding, and trying to like make sure that he can threaten the backline because he knows like how powerful that is. It feels like CLG doesn't understand that concept, which is why I say he's like playing like a weak mage backliner. He's always with the team, like going forward, chunking somebody, and then going back with the team instead of like actually being able to come from an angle and potentially like pick off people and kill them. So I don't know. I really like seeing when I'm watching a game and I see players like Ryu have that understanding of like, okay, my team started Baron. Okay, I need to go over the wall. Like, no one's telling him go over the wall, pink ward this, sit here, and then flank. Like he just knows from being a good player. Like Ryu has been such a good player for so long that he just knows the angles he needs to take to be successful. And I feel like Power of Evil just doesn't have that like assassin killer instinct to take those angles or take the risk of like looking for one of those plays.
No, he has really good mage mentality. Like he has Orianna, Syndra, Victor mentality.
Yep.
Whenever he's
Victor,
playing.
exactly. Yeah, that was my point. Those are the champs that we associate with him, and they can be in the meta, but the assassins also are very viable right now, and it seems like he's struggling on it. All right, so CLG, third place, slipping down, not able to knock it down. We'll come back to them when we get to playoff matchups. TSM, the new TL, now in fourth place. They used Spica instead of Sick Acadian or Grig, who's now a top laner for Academy because was it attitude issues from Braindini? This all comes directly from the TSM Twitter. The team looked. What are your thoughts on the team with Spica? Do you think this is something that they're going to move forward with?
I don't know. It's confused. Like I talked about this earlier. I just think that the games this week didn't really have that much of an effect for TSM, right? Like after like both of the
Golden Guardians
teams that were 8 and 8, both of the teams that were 8 and 8 ended up dropping to like 8 and 9. There was no way for them to even get like third or fifth, so they're just locked into fourth. I feel like the games just didn't matter that much, so they like wanted to see if maybe they, because I think their jungle is a problem right now. Like Acadian hasn't looked confident in the previous weeks on stage. I think they just wanted to see if like maybe somebody else had the juice, so to speak, because like I feel like as a jungler you have to be confident in your play. You have to feel good. If you go into games with the mindset that it look like Acadian has, it's just doom. So maybe they're trying to get that like mindset from someone else.
So small correction, like Acadian wasn't sick. I think there's just like a lot of rumors around because people don't know exactly what happened, and because TSM wasn't like very clear on why they played Spica. Like, so I also heard like Spica said on stream he might get playtime in playoffs. Like, I actually have no idea. So a lot of it is speculation. It'd be crazy to give Spica playtime in playoffs. I'd be fucking shocked.
They would have to have seen him. They would have to see something like special in his play. Like some players you just like know are good right off the bat.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like that. Like he is an extremely good player. He was ranked 1 last season for most of it. Seems like he's been solid for a while. It just comes down to like, is he able to break some of the solo queue habits? From what I've heard internally from TSM, obviously, I mean, this is like kind of public stuff, so it's not like I'm leaking anything. But he just generally speaking, he's very good on aggressive junglers. His tank play leaves a lot to be desired. So I think that's where you run into like the issue is like, what type of meta are we looking at in the playoffs? It's looking like more of a tank meta right now. Is he going to be able to be good enough at that meta to play at a playoff level right now? I would not do it. If I was TSM, I would rely on Acadian in this situation, but they're the ones that actually have all the scrim results. They have all the data. They can make the decision themselves. But
dude,
just from my perspective, that's how I see it.
If we're going to talk about TSM and like jungle problems, like the whole thing with Acadian was like confidence, right? Why do you play Spica last week? Like, give Acadian every last bit of confidence like you can manage to give him. Like, why the fuck do you play Spica? Like, is he gonna get playoff time? And if so, like, man, that's so fucked up. Like, you gave him one game in regular season and you're gonna put him in playoffs. And if you're not gonna give him playoff time, like, why fuck with Acadian psyche?
So
I mean, the thing is, like, it depends on where a player draws confidence from. I don't know how much Acadian draws his confidence from like shitting on people on stage compared to just like feeling like he has a good understanding of the game. Just from knowing him, my interpretation was that it was more just like a self thing. Like when he plays in scrims and he feels like he knows what to do all the time, then he feels good regardless. Like he was never a player that was scared on stage. I think it just like when he doesn't really know what to do in games, he just kind of crumbles. So
what do you think about the stage time? You don't think the stage time matters?
I think the stage time matters, but I would say that like that isn't necessarily like a make or break thing for Acadian. I feel like if Acadian is playing well, things are going well in scrims, he feels like he's doing well, he has a good understanding of the meta and like how to path all the different junglers that are in the meta, I think in that situation he'll be able to come in with confidence and play well.
Yeah, the sick tweet came directly from Acadian. So that to me is, he was sick. I don't think that's why they put him in though. Like I agree with you, Loco. Like they put in Speak Up because they wanted to try something different. And I think there's power in the fact that he's saying that and that TSM was direct with him about it, right? It's not like, hey, we're going to try this out. We're springing this on you. It's like, hey, you're sick. We want to give this guy a shot. He's obviously, I think this is very pertinent to like what I was saying about Blabber as a substitute. He's been a monster. We want to keep him around. If we don't keep him around, we want to keep him around. So let's give him a game. Let's see what we got. And I don't think that it's no longer competition like it was with Grig, going week to week back and forth. Like that gives you anxiety. Like going into playoffs, you're not feeling up or you're feeling under the weather and you've got another guy behind you that isn't going to take your spot but can help the team, and Acadian's on board with it, that's very different. I don't think it was like throughout that whole competition he's like, oh, I don't know what they're doing, I'm just going out there week to week. This time he's in front of the message and saying, yeah, I'm not feeling well, and they put in Spica and we just want to see what they had. I think that speaks volumes to how he feels about the situation.
So I'll clear up everything. So last weekend was Hard Summer. It's like a festival in LA. And people posted pictures of it, and then there was someone that looked like Acadian, and then so he replied in the tweet, and this is what he said. No, this wasn't me. I was on the Rift. Not sure why everyone thinks I'm sick or something, or just wanted to party, ? Team wanted to try Spica and change stuff up. Pretty simple, actually. He was doing well in Academy. Please cheer him on Sunday. So apparently he wasn't sick. So there were people making rumors that he was sick, and then he clarified and said he wasn't sick, and also clarified that he wasn't at Hard.
Yeah, I misread that. That's my fault. I misread that. I thought he said, I am sick, but I wasn't at Hard Summer. That's my bad. I misread that. Sorry.
Okay.
But either way, they're just rolling with Spica, and the fact that he's it doesn't change the fact that he's on board with the messaging, right?
Daniel, what is he gonna say? Let's say
nothing. We've seen him say before, like, oh, I don't know what's happening.
I mean, some players tweet like super passive aggressive stuff.
Right. We've seen him do that before on Optic. He did that.
Dude, like, let's say he was benched, right? It would be crazy of him to be passive aggressive towards TSM. I think it's one thing to be passive aggressive towards Optic, another thing to be passive aggressive towards TSM. Did you see what happened to Mike Young with like the slow tempo,
if he got
high
benched
tempo?
after being strung along like the whole season, after proving his worth, how could he not feel passive aggressive? And knowing that he's done that before in the past, like, great, maybe he's grown a ton, but there's been a pattern of that happening before in the past. I really think this is growth, yes, but also him being on board with it and knowing what his place is on the team, which is the number one jungler, and he's going to get that opportunity in playoffs.
I think it's drinking the Kool-Aid one way or the other. I really think one way or the other he couldn't have spoke up, and the only thing he could have said was, I support Spica and I support this decision. That's a huge TSM thing, like us versus them. Like TSM, that one thing they do really well is like they at least come together as a group. There's sometimes where they break down internally, but it definitely doesn't happen until they actually start losing. Like losing in playoffs, like it is very much like we know what's correct. Like it's a we mindset.
All right. Final thoughts there, Dom? Or are we moving on to the surprise team of the week?
I guess my final thoughts are just like, I don't really know what to think of it, because to me, it could be an act of desperation, but you don't know if it is. Like, I when I see this, it's like, is TSM really that desperate to find a new, or is it just like they just like the games didn't matter so much, so they wanted to just try something different? Like, how desperate are they at this point? Like, is I guess my last question.
Oh, they're fucking desperate.
They're super desperate.
They're desperate. Wait, what do you think their expectation was for summer?
Like probably top 2 again.
Top 2 are like winning, right? Like either finals or winning, and like making worlds for sure. That was probably their expectation after spring. Their expectation after spring is like, we almost beat TL. We should have been the team that won. Like we were the better team, but like we slipped up. Like guys, we got this in summer. Like Broken Blade is gonna be even better in summer. Like Acadian's gonna be really good. Maybe Greg comes in and Greg's better than Acadian. Like we've seen him in scrims. Like their expectation.
Wow, if they started the meeting with that talk, like holy shit, now he's.
That's the well, they probably didn't say like Greg's gonna come in and be better, but like coaching staff and like management probably did think that, because they brought him in because they thought he was gonna be better. Their expectation after spring was our summer is gonna be even better than spring. It has to be, and the fact that they are right here, like their expectations aren't being met at all, and they're probably desperate as fuck.
So what's Tony saying to the team then, Loco? What is the message to the team now, knowing that like, say you find yourself in playoffs, okay, we finally the spinning board of where we land, it's we're fourth. What's the messaging going forward, knowing that you had all those expectations beforehand? Just a little side.
Okay. I watched a little bit of TSM Legends, and Tony, when Zeben died versus 100 Thieves the week before, like he's like, what the fuck am I watching? Like as a coach, like you really watch what you say, especially when you're on camera. So Tony's saying that not purposely, but because he's literally like, what the fuck? Yeah, it just came out. It just came out like, what the fuck am I watching? So I think Tony's in like, how to say, he's in
panic mode.
He's trying to convince himself as much as he's trying to convince players whenever he's saying stuff.
I like how Loco tried to downplay that he watches every single TSM Legends episode all the way through. He's like, yeah, I'm watching
a little bit of it.
I've dabbled. I've seen it before. When he's literally just like, when's the next episode coming out?
I gotta watch it.
No, you know, when you're addicted to crack, you don't tell the world you're addicted. You just tell them I did a little crack.
I mean, you're speaking to the wrong person if that's your argument. Dude. Like, that is... I've been telling the world since day one.
Shout outs to Max. That's TSM's videographer. Thanks for capturing and cutting and all the work that you do to give Loco exactly what he needs to move on for the week.
I hate correcting you. Oh my god, I'm doing it so much. So Andrew,
Go ahead, do it.
Andrew took over TSM Legends. Andrew White there.
God damn it! All right, I tried. I'm trying. Been a tough week, guys. Thank you. I appreciate you correcting me. All right, you know, and when I'm wrong, I accept. But all right, TSM. Thank you, Andrew, for putting all that in there. All right, TSM. Clutch Gaming, Houston Rockets, Dignitas, Model Huni on this weird backdrop with the New Jersey. What's up? Clutch Gaming in there in 5th place after being left for dead. Lyra, the worst jungler in the history of LCS, comes back and turns into Envy Lyra form and drags his team over the end. No, it's actually Cody and the rest of the squad. But they find themselves in 5th, not 6th, 5th place. How did they do it, Dom?
I think Huni started playing a lot better this split. Like, I thought he was really running it down in spring and stopped dying as many dumb deaths. I think their team environment most likely improved when Piglet left. I think Cody's son was an upgrade in terms of just like skill as well as like personality in the team. And yeah, I mean, like their bot and their top just seem pretty solid right now. I think they have a good top laner right now, like a pretty good top laner, good bot lane, and then like jungle and mid are just a little bit scary. And that right there is enough to get 5th in NA right now.
One thing that also happened was they had a coaching change in the middle of the split where they got rid of their Korean coach and they got rid of, what's his name? The American head coach they had. Fuck, I'm blanking out. He's the guy with like blue eyes, spiky hair. McCrack. They got rid of McCrack and then they brought in ThinkCard and then they moved up their academy coach Artemis and they did become more cohesive as a team like once that happened. So they did fix shit. As for like Clutch making it in, like we have to give them credit. Like they made it in when like no one thought they would. I honestly thought it would be 100 Thieves, Optic, Golden Guardians. It was a three-man race for 2 spots, but like they did it. They did clutch it out.
Yeah, and Optic and Golden Guardians just needed to win one game. I think it was just one game. That's all they needed to do, and Clutch was able to win that head-to-head tiebreaker against 100 Thieves. So like again, they earned their spot. It is Tanner Time DeMonte. Who overperformed on this squad? Is it just Cody's son? Did DeMonte step up too? You hit Huni, Loco. Who did you think? We heard from Dom on that one.
I think Vulcan and Cody are probably the most underrated bot lane duo. Like they're probably the least talked about, least respected for the level they're at. So I think they actually have a pretty decent bot. DeMonte's hit or miss. Like he was hit last weekend, but yeah. Lyra, I still think is one of the worst jungles in the league. But he is functioning better, and like the early game planning makes a lot more sense. And I agree with Dom that Huni does look better. If I have to pick like who's the best on 100, it has to be Cody Vulcan for me because Cody Vulcan are just so underrated and actually decent. So I
think Vulcan was always good. Like he felt like he was still good last split, even when the team sucked.
That's a player coach thing, by the way. That's not like a public thing. Like if you ask people to rate Vulcan, even when Afro was having like the shittiest time of his life, people would still put Vulcan below Afro. Like so, it is very much like a player coach analyst thing to know Vulcan is good. I still think public really doesn't think that well of Vulcan.
Yeah, and we've sang the praises of Vulcan for a while. It was. Man, he's stuck with Piglet. And then I'll admit, I was like, man, now he's stuck with Cody. But that turned out to be a pretty good relationship of pairing. You know, who would have thunk it? They could speak the same language and they'd be able to perform better. So that bot lane stepping up and doing huge things here. They get TSM. And so now that we're at Clutch and Optic, I wanted to talk a little bit about the matchups here. How do you feel like they match up against this squad? Both teams struggling junglers, both teams carry top laners. Mid lane is where a massive difference is, but the bot lane might have more of an advantage than what we thought.
I think they match up pretty decently because like when you're playing against TSM, their lane that has the most like chance to die, I would say, is their bot lane. Like their bot lane is the weakest part of like the bot lane and jungle are the weakest part of TSM. So like they could actually pull advantage of bot lane. Like I remember the series the last time that Clutch played TSM in the playoffs where it was the infamous Hakuho Thresh.
Thresh.
Yeah, where he just like took over the entire game last year, right? So I feel like that type of thing could happen again. If they pop off, they could probably like carry the series. But if I had to like bet on it, I would think that TSM should be able to win this.
Sure.
I keep I keep underrating Clutch and I keep overrating TSM, so I want to be really careful with what I say. But even with TSM being this bad, I don't see them losing to Clutch.
That's how I see it. It's like when TSM is bad, it's like, are they really that bad, or are they just like going through some shit? Like, they can't actually be this bad, are they? Like, they were better than this in spring. Like,
we're seeing some historical level of bad from TSM, so I don't know. Oh my god! But I know my expectation for TSM is not close to reality, or it hasn't been close to reality for summer. Oh my god, it's so fucking hard to call.
What do you consider not close to reality? Like, what we had them at?
Like top 2, top 3. You cut out there, Dom.
Yeah, like we thought that they would be second and they're fourth. Like I don't think that's that far away. It's not like crazy.
But there's like a huge gap between third and fourth. It's not like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Really?
It's like 1, 2, 3, and then 4.
I think it's 1, 2,
it's 1, 2,
3, space 4.
Yeah. CLG ruined that for.
Yeah, I don't put CLG. I don't put CLG up there with C9 and TL. And I think that like they're better than TSM for sure, but they're not consistent enough to the point where I like would feel confident in them necessarily. Like I wouldn't say they have like 70% chance to win the series if they played against TSM, which I think, probably won't happen. But yeah,
I don't know how much TSM are going to be able to fix their mental problems. Like I'm really worried about Zven. Like I don't know what really happens for TSM in playoffs. Like usually the correct bet with TSM is it doesn't matter what they look like in regular split. In playoff,
step up.
They'll kick it up a notch. I'm not sure if I can say the same thing this split.
Yeah, this looks a little bit more doomed because it feels like some of the games where they already tried that, where it's like, all right, we're putting our foot down. So enough of fucking around, like doing whatever. We're gonna win this game. They draft well, and then you see the game, and they just get like shit on by Echo Fox early game for like 20 minutes. It's like, all right, come on, man. Like we're out here losing to Echo. Like come on. Mike Young is smurfing on you with Elise. Let's chill a bit and like actually play around some objectives or something.
We were pretty tough on. We're going back to CSM, but whatever. We were pretty tough on Bjerg last week. How did he fare this week in your guys' eyes? Was it just because
we only got to see one game, really, right? Mm-hmm. I don't consider the Zed game at all.
Glacials, yeah.
Because the other team was trolling with Glacials, and then they knew it didn't matter, and then they trolled too. Zed.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like oh shit, let's rate his Zed. He hasn't been fucking practicing Zed. He's out of practice on Zed. It's not a good time to pick Zed there anyway. Fuck that game. First game, yeah, I mean he's definitely not playing like he was like 3 weeks ago. He was playing significantly better 3 weeks ago than he is now.
So, I also think this is the first year where Bjerg looks mortal, and there is like a very open-ended discussion about who's the best mid laner. And then probably gun to my head in like situations that matter. Like this year, I probably have to bet on Jensen over Bjergsen. Like Niski over Bjergsen is another conversation, but everything just looks so shaky. TSM has so much problems. Like the usual rock they're supposed to have isn't there anymore either.
All right, so percentage-wise, we all think that TSM, and I'll agree, we all think that TSM is going to take this series. How do you feel like the percentage goes, though, Dom?
Oh God, I mean, I would put a pretty high percentage still. Like Clutch skated into playoffs last minute, and like for the most part, they were like a 9th place team 4 weeks ago, right? So
that's true.
If I said percentage, I would say probably like 70% chance for TSM to win.
Damn.
What you got, Loco?
60-40, 60 TSM, 40 Clutch. I think it's actually going to be pretty close. I think there's a chance that TSM actually cracks.
Yeah,
and Clutch is on a
65-35, 60-40 maybe.
Oof,
yeah.
I'm scared.
The thing that I think gives Clutch like some benefit here is they actually just can play all out. You know, like they don't have to care about anything. Where TSM's like, it's still a must win for TSM, But for Clutch, they're like, yeah, we're just happy we're here. Let's just fuck it. Let's just give it our all. Maybe like, and a team that has nothing to lose is always like the scariest to play against.
Yeah, that's dangerous. That's what I was about to say.
Anything but a stomp for like TSM stomping Clutch is like the only result where TSM can feel like good about themselves. If they have really close games versus Clutch, and then their semifinal opponents is like either TL or C9, they're not going to feel good. So it is like a lose-lose situation for TSM.
I think I want to check that real quick. Is it dynamic seeding?
Yeah,
so if Optic wins.
Yeah. So if they win, TL gets to pick.
Yeah.
Who they pick.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool. That is selection. Cool.
Yep.
All right. Shout outs to Clutch for skating on in. I value their form a little bit higher than one of our probably more senior analysts here on the game on the show. But good luck to them and congrats to their team and their staff for making it as the final year as Clutch Gaming before they turn into Team Dignitas. The final team that snuck in there. Oh, they did it the hard way, but they got in. The green wall sneaks into the final playoff spot. It's Optic making playoffs for the first time as an organization. Head coach Zabutin and the boys getting it done the hard ways. They go 0-2 in their regular season games and then have to play two tiebreakers back-to-back. First one against 100 Thieves, which was a close one to start, and then that second one against Golden Guardians where they took the lead and then it was a little bit back and forth, but then the big Dokla showing up and smashing tier lists everywhere and bringing them through. Optic having themselves, not the greatest week, but they got it done, so it's a great week to get themselves into playoffs. Luca, what are your thoughts on this Optic team?
There is like a very slight glimmer of old C9 roster in there. Like the old C9, like the high, medio, sneaky, lemon, like where Clutch where it counts, like everyone trusts each other, like give the ball to like the one idiot friends and let him make a shot. Like that's what it feels like. Where it actually really counted, like after the first game, where Crown kind of was met, and then like coming in Clutch for tiebreakers, like this team, there's something a little bit special about them, like that I really didn't expect. I thought this would be a roster that's like everyone kind of does their own thing, and then even when they were doing well in summer, I viewed it as like Meteos and Crown carrying everyone, but it's been way more than that. Like Arrow has stepped up, and this team just works.
You better not say biggest stepped up, because that Bard game, holy fuck.
That was so bad.
He actually just griefed the entire game.
Biggest up and down, but he's been like everyone.
I like that he tries to make plays, but it was pretty bad. This last game, the last game of the tiebreaker was pretty hard to watch.
I think there's like a phenomenon that happened on Optic where everyone rates Meteos and Crown really fucking highly, and everyone else on the roster is getting shafted. Like there's memes about Dokla. He is not the worst top laner anymore. Arrow is upper half, maybe even top 4 AD carry, and Big is like a passable support. Big, like the problem is what you mentioned, like he goes for shit and he's aggressive, so he has like really good moments and he has like terrible bad moments.
The problem is he just has like bad game, like he just does like rookie moves, like rookie mistakes still, right? So like the game I'm thinking about right now is like the CLG game, right, where the Jarvan dives him. He literally loses 70% of his HP walking up, like the wave is coming into turret, walking up to target a cannon minion, like get his targets on the cannon minion, proc his relic shield, and he just like, they should have just lost the game off that. Like they ended up cleaning it up because CLG like botched the dive, like the redive, and Arrow just outplayed it. That was a horrible mistake to make. Like that type of stuff like will lose you a game versus a really good team. You do that versus G2, doesn't even matter if they're playing Garen, they're gonna still beat you. So
you can still be like a positive contributor on your team on average and still have like absolute garbage moments, and that's what I think Big is. Like he has absolute garbage moments, but he's still very much a positive contributor.
So with this squad and the way that they bounce back, I feel like we got to learn a little bit about their mocks. We talked about how we felt about CLG and their lack of character and their lack of resilience, but I think there's something to be said about the fact that they went 0-2 in the week, knowing that they just needed one, and unlike Golden Guardians, weren't able to get that one victory and had to play an extra game because of the tiebreakers and the way it worked out. Golden Guardians had a higher tiebreaker than both.
They had a harder week though. So like I think that they're kind of consistent. They just have like, they're not going to be able to beat the top teams, but they can beat the other. They can play like their level of play against other teams that are around their caliber and get wins against those teams.
And so, how high do you think this Optic squad can punch?
Can they beat CLG?
They could beat CLG, actually. I think CLG is like, I would not say it's likely, but it's not like 100% CLG victory. Just because I think that they also match up decently into CLG. Like, they have pretty good jungler, pretty good mid laner. And I think that if Meteos or Crowd like really pops off one of the games or is just having a better series than their counterpart, I feel like they could definitely like win the whole series off of it, because they don't have like Optic right now doesn't have a huge weak point. Like Dokla is like shaping up to the point where he's more stable than he was before. So I think they have like the chance to win if CLG just kind of like doesn't execute their game as well as they do in the games that they win. Like there's so many games where CLG will just throw over and over again. Like they'll just make bad decisions. And I think that Optic is actually good enough to capitalize and win off that potentially.
Ooh, okay. Don't you think we're being a little bit prisoner of the moment if we're saying like Optic has like a good shot versus CLG? Would you have said the same thing last week? I think last week all of us would have said like CLG versus Optic, like in a best of 5, like CLG no chance for Optic.
I haven't been that high on CLG the whole season though. Like so for me, it's just I don't believe that CLG is actually that good. That's a huge part of like why I think like this. I don't think Optic is like better than CLG, but I just don't think CLG is good enough that I can be like they can consistently beat one of these like 5th or 6th place teams. Like they
in a best of 5?
In a best of 5. Yeah, I mean I don't trust like their level of play. I don't think that they play consistently. Like Ruin has really bad games. Like he has really bad games. Like I don't know.
I think they match up well. If you go down every lane, it matches well. I think Wiggly Meteos, who do you go there? If you go Crown Power of Evil, who do you go there? Like you look at the bot lane, Stixay, Arrow. You would give that, and then Bio and Big, you give that one to CLG, but not by a ton. And you look at the top lane, then you go based off of, you could say, prisoner of recency bias. Like, give me Dokla that 1v9 compared to Ruin that 9v1. Like, like I don't know. Like, I think form going into playoffs is a huge thing. It's a huge thing in any type of competition. And if we can say, oh, Sneaky in playoffs or TSM in playoffs, Team Liquid turning the switch on, I think it's very true of other teams as well. And I think it's a massive relief for this Optic organization as well as Clutch that are going into a period of uncertainty. There's like this rallying cry that really is something. I'm big on these intangibles. And when I look at the tangibles as this roster, it stacks up well. So tangible roster, they stack up, plus the intangibles of the form going up compared to CLG looking like butt. I think it's a pretty good recipe for an upset.
I mean, I'll give a little and say upset is possible just on the fact there's such little sample size for both teams being in playoffs. I don't think Power of Evil and Crown both have not been in playoffs in LCS, if I'm correct. Yeah,
they haven't. They've not.
And then for majority, like, and both of these rosters have not been in playoffs. Like, there are players in the roster that have been in playoffs, but both these versions of rosters have not been in playoffs. So maybe, like, in playoffs, we'll see true value of players, and maybe Optic is better than I give them credit for, and CLG is worse. But just going from the entirety of the split, I don't think it should be close.
I mean, I think that in general, the when we see top 3 teams normally, I feel like they're better than CLG is right now. Like, I feel like CLG is like the 3rd best, but they're actually like a 4th best team that is only 3rd best because TSM sucks. Like, that's kind of how I view them as a team. When we look at like last split, right, and it was like C9, TSM, TL, they were just so much better than the rest, right? It was like a top 3 and then bottom like 7. That's kind of how we viewed the split. I don't really put CLG. That's why I keep on like saying like C9 TL and then CLG, because I don't think that CLG is consistent enough that we can see them playing like a best of 5 against one of these bot teams and be like, yeah, they're just gonna shit on them. I think they're definitely gonna drop games. I think there's no chance it's a 3-0. So I don't know. I'm just worried. Like, I don't want to bank on CLG. They just haven't shown me enough where I can be 100% confident. Like, I would say that they probably have like, I would give them like a 60-40 chance. Like, if I said 70-30 the other way for the Clutch versus TSM, I would say that CLG has only like 60% chance to beat Optic.
I don't know. Weldon's done a good job. I doubted Weldon. I'm gonna give Weldon a little bit more faith, and I would say it's like 80-20 CLG going into the Optic
80-20.
That's
what?
heavy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I think they should be heavy favorites if they get their shit together. I think they should be heavy favorites.
God damn.
That just seems like such a big if for me because they got punched in the face and they've been on a slide, right? They've been on a little bit of a slide. So
that's when people start betting against like good teams. Like I guess CLG isn't like really proven, but I think I want to swing the other way, and I will say like CLG will get their shit together.
I think Zabutin has been building this optic ship for 2 years. And to be fair, if he didn't make playoffs this year, I think you fire Zabutin. I think he and the rest of this squad don't blow it up because they made playoffs just now. And I think that's a powerful thing that everyone can rally together. You know, everyone on that line has a redemption story.
In general, the one thing that you have to like consider when you consider Optic and like the last couple of years with Zabutin is I don't know about this split. This split is different, but I think that he has had the cheapest LCS roster in terms of salary of the players.
Yeah.
By far in the league. So that's a massive disadvantage when you come into a situation like this. Like if you just don't have like the firepower to like win fucking games, then yeah.
Yeah. So
it's hard to win. So I don't really blame him as much as I would blame like a different coach. Like, I would much rather blame like Prawley for 100T being bad than blame Zabutin if like Optic didn't make playoffs.
That's what we're about to do next.
All right. So anyway, 55-45, CLG has the advantage, but I think they can do it. I think Optic can come up with the upset here. I'm happy either way. All right. Now let's move on to the teams that didn't make it in my favorite portion of today. Yes. All right. Let's go with our first loser. It's Golden Guardians. Who would have thunk it? Golden Guardians sitting at 8-8 or whatever position they were throughout the season, weren't able to get it together. Trade away the second best AD carry in the league, and then can't get over the finish line. One final game to rule them all after needing to win 1 out of 2. Weren't able to get it done, get smacked, and they find themselves outside looking in. I think I tweeted out, can't wait to hear the silver lining tweet coming from Golden Guardians, and I got it. It was so good. I woke up in the middle of the night to read it. I read it in that person's voice, and it just felt fantastic.
Oh god. Okay.
Yeah. Golden Guardians didn't make it.
We'll do this. We'll do this for the teams that didn't make it in. For the teams that didn't make it in, we'll play blame game. So there's 3 things you can blame, and you have to pick one of the 3. You can blame. You can either blame the management, so like putting together a roster, putting together direction for the team, and picking the coaches. You can blame the coaches, the drafts in game, how they utilize players, or you can blame the players, like they just played like absolute garbage. So I mean, we can talk about a lot of different points, but I do want all of us to like pick one of the 3, going team by team by team. So let's start with Golden Guardians. What do you guys pick?
I'm saying players.
Players. Oh. Yep.
I think that like Ole ended up in academy somehow, right? Like Ole and definitely underperformed to the point where they were benched. FBI and Huhi looked terrible when they came in, so like their placements looked bad. And then I think Contracts was like, I had him as like a bottom 3 jungler for the entire split. So I think they have good solo laners, but I think the other 3 players really dropped the ball. Like with those 2 solo laners, I think you feel like you should be able to get a playoff spot.
Damn, I actually disagree so heavily. I thought this one was really clear. For Golden Guardians, I blame coaching staff. I think it's so clear. You have like players that can play a certain way. Like you had a style that worked. Like put Deathly on team fighters and put Froggen on a control mage. I think their win rate when Froggen is on a control mage versus when Froggen isn't on a control mage is like so vastly different. And like even like a random Redditor knows Froggen's great on these like control mage team fighter. And then like you stick him on Karma, you stick him on these utility picks, like you keep trying to be bot lane focused. Like they just did so many things that went away from what made them good originally, and they took steps backward because they wanted to be innovative and they wanted to have multiple dimensions. So I think it's 100% coaching staff.
I don't even think that that's what happened though. I think that it was just because they started losing in Summer Split doing what they were doing before, and they're like, oh shit, like their style wasn't like they were dominating. It was like, oh, we like, I don't know. I mean, it's like, oh, we can get like 5th place, you know?
Yeah, 4th or 5th. Place. They were 4th or 5th.
Yeah, so they're like a 4th, 5th place team, and they're like, and then when they got to Summer, they're like, okay, we're losing all the fucking game. They went on like a massive slide, and then they just started like trying to sub different players because they didn't feel confident that they could even perform that style to a level that would get them to playoffs. Anyway, so I just feel like the play, like, I don't know. I feel like the players just have like big flaws. If you like bot lane just seems so so hard to watch. Like Huhi and FBI, they just feel like I'm watching an Academy bot lane when I'm playing it. And then Contracts just wastes all of his time in the jungle. He just wastes all the free time that he has. His efficiency is just terrible. He just ends up like waiting around, trying to gank things. The ganks never work, and then they just lose the game slowly. I don't know. It just sucks.
It's not that I disagree with you on the Contracts being bad or their bot lane being bad thing, but they had those parts that were bad, and they still performed decently well enough in spring. And in summer, you have teams like fucking burning around you. You have like TSM just fucking dying, and all you had to do was stay afloat. All you had to do was not change shit up and maintain what you had, and you could have been 4th or 5th, but you wanted to get cute, and then you ended up being 7th. Like this team, I think easily could have placed 4th or 5th if they just kept their style, and if they kept Deathly and Ole doing what they were doing.
Yep. I mean, I think that they could have maybe placed a little bit higher if they stayed with other things, but I just think that they just kind of viewed it as like, okay, maybe we can get 4th or 5th again, but they're trying to like be a legitimate good team and not like a cheese team. I always saw the Golden Guardians as a cheese team. It's like, oh, you're just going to play some shit that no one else plays mid lane, like Karthus or Vel'Koz or Nivea, and you're just going to win the game because you have understanding of your pick and the enemy teams don't. I never thought that they were a solid, like, methodical, disciplined team.
They're just it's just so disappointing when you have the tools and pieces to make playoffs and you don't make playoffs. Of course, there is talks about like you need to innovate, you need to get better, you can't be one-dimensional, but the bare minimum bar is you need to make playoffs when you have a playoff level roster, and Golden Guardians had that. They were definitely in a better spot than Optic or Clutch. We can talk about like Optic starting 4-0, but in terms of like the amount of dollars spent on the roster, the amount of the amount of dollars spent on the roster and the amount of success they had in spring, like this was a roster like that definitely should have made playoffs.
Yeah, I think to me it goes, Loco, you took a lot of my points from the staff, and then Dom, you took a lot of points from the players that I wanted to make as well. You look at that team and it is very talented. We have them all. The solo laners relatively mid-tier to upper tier on our tier lists. I think the bot lane doesn't fit with the team. And when something like that happens and you're given pieces that don't fit, you have to look at management up there, right? You have to look at management saying, okay, we gathered these players at these contracts and these rates, make it work. I think the staff had a difficult issue. And for a while, I think in the spring split, it did work. You had a Froggen and a Hanser that was able to make it work with the bot lane that was kind of figuring out its place and figuring out how they work together. I think Ole's form did dip, but then as soon the player that you have in Deathly, if you bench him, you're not going to get him back, and it forces this trade. Now you're stuck. You're married with FBI, and you didn't fully know what you're getting in terms of the LCS caliber of things. And I think FBI was good. I think he just wasn't consistent.
I thought FBI was bad.
I think when he was on Kai'Sa, he had a couple of Kai'Sa games where he was doing his job. He was dishing out damage. And I'm not, again, right? I'm the biggest Deathly fan in the world, but FBI was doing his job, and it seemed like he was running into the same issues that the team was running into overall as a composition. You've got Hanser and Froggen that want to be high resource, but then you're putting your AD carry on Kai'Sa. Like, that doesn't normally work.
I don't even think that's how. I think he had like 2 games where he was decent the same week, and then all the other games were terrible. That's how I viewed FBI. Like, I thought it was like int performance versus TL, hard int performance on Victor, inted on Callista. It just felt like he was like really, really running it down in most of the games.
And to be fair, I'll quote from the tweet. Last year we had 9 wins. This year 19 wins and a playoff appearance. So I think it was a overall a better year than last year. But like Loco said, when you have those pieces in place and it's the same pieces from your previous season that you took all the credit for, when it goes wrong, you got to take the blame. So Golden Guardians not making playoffs. We've got blame all around. Staff from Loco, players from Dom, and everyone from me. So
it's a staff that actively chose to not play Deathly and Ole, and they're the ones not picking Froggen Vel'Koz, not picking Froggen Karthus,
you think that Froggen doesn't have authority to pick what he wants?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I think Froggen has authority to pick what he wants, but ultimately coaching staff makes final decisions and chooses the direction for the team. And like from what I heard, like Froggen's been better about listening to other people, so I have to blame the staff. Like even knowing Froggen, I think there's more weight on the coaching staff to pick the champions he's actively picking.
Okay. I mean, the way I just see it is I thought that like Froggen is just like the fucking big dick alpha male of that team, where like he just says whatever, like he's like, yo, get me fucking like a Nivea, and they're like, really, like look like a good Nivea. He's like, get me a Nivea, and then they just pick it for him and he just carries the game. That's what I always thought like the dynamic was, but obviously I could be wrong. That's just how I see Golden Guardians.
It's so simple. Like you just look at the win rate for Vel'Koz, Karthus, and Nivea versus any other champion on Golden Guardians, and then you can see it massively drop.
So, to Luca's point, I don't see Froggen being like, give me Talon, like he did last week, and then just like it fell apart, right? That sounds like, hey, this Talon could work here, play this. And that sounds like a staff decision. Or, coaching staff decision.
I just like, who, like, you think Anero has authority over Froggen in terms of champion pick?
So Inero's not even coaching the LCS team. Inero's on academy team. Yeah.
Well, he was on stage this week, wasn't he?
He was on stage this week.
Okay.
He was on stage this week.
I thought he was coaching. I thought he like subbed in or something.
I feel like I remember seeing him on stage this week.
He was on stage, definitely.
Yeah.
I think from speaking to Froggen recently, like he knows like it's been a problem where he's been like really stubborn with his picks. And he's been way more open-ended about that. So I believe Froggen's open-ended from my recent conversation. So I'm going to believe like it was coaching staff. Still speculation because I don't know for sure, but I would have to believe it's coaching staff. And Froggen's like, pick me whatever you think is best.
For these 4 squads, let's also close it with a statement about them. Just like a one-sentence statement to close their year, right? And so I'll go first with Golden Guardians. Golden Guardians, better than last year, but not good enough.
For me, yeah. Better than last year, but with the pieces you had, should have done way more.
Mine would be bench contracts and get Dardoch. There it is. That's all it is.
All right.
Juanito, I don't support this view, but...
Shut up and get us to the next topic, Daniel.
All right, next one. 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves. Once Juan's off that roster, then we're going to town. 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves. I think, to be fair and honest, that's a squad where this year can't be viewed at anything except a failure because you had the success from last year. You as a organization decide to move away from it. And it does not work. And then you make changes all around, and it still does not work. Loco, your thoughts on 100 Thieves?
My thoughts on 100 Thieves, like, if you have to pick between the 3, staff, management, or players, I have to say management. They are the second highest spenders, and they didn't make playoffs. And the money they spent this year was catastrophic. I think Huhi was absolutely the wrong choice. I think Bang didn't turn out to be that great. I mean, we can have a feel-good story about, him and Afro started turning things around, but honestly, like, it's far below expectations. Yeah. And Soligo also was a garbage choice. So they made like 3 really bad choices in the off-season. So yeah, I have to put a lot of blame on whoever made those choices, and I think the blame has to go to management.
Yeah, I put management to blame here for this one too. From my perspective, how can you make a team and not have a mid laner? Like, mid lane is the most important role on your team, and you literally spent money getting everything else except for mid lane. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So, like, it's just a terrible decision of where to allocate your resources. You can't spend all your money top and all your money on a fucking AD carry and then have no mid laner. Like, you can't play the game if your mid laner is late to rotation or never has priority. So, like, Ryu obviously played much better than Huhi or Soligo. I'm not really talking about Ryu in this situation. I'm talking about just like what they did originally. Ryu kind of saved them at the end. And I feel like this team actually is not going to get shit on as hard as they probably should just because of the trajectory of their season. They just did so fucking bad in the beginning of like summer and like spring, where the fact that they got 7th, it like almost looks good. It's like you're almost proud of them. You're like, they did better than I thought, because you at some point you just thought that they were just the absolute worst team in the league. So I don't know, man. It's terrible decision to like just not have a mid laner be the focus of your roster. They spent a bunch of money they didn't spend in the right areas. It has to be management.
D, what about you? He's muted. I guess he might be fixing shit. Another thing, like, that was a really big problem is, like, in reality, they have Sunday playing in Academy. Like, he has to be one of their highest paid players, and he's playing in Academy because you couldn't find a mid laner that works, and you had to go back to Ryu. So
yeah, that's pretty rough.
Yeah.
I think if you look at this roster and it's put together, it's so easy to pick all of them again, but I think it's actually management and players. I don't know if this is Prolly's fault necessarily. I think it's players just not playing up to form, and you got to pull yourself from such a bad start, but that bad start comes from management being like, hey, we got to play this, right? No,
I think the only
these players that need to play because of the contracts that we have.
The only player that didn't play to form was Afro, I felt like, this season. Like, everyone else you kind of got, like, I mean, maybe you could say Bang didn't as well, but I mean, when you look at a role like AD carry, when your support's running it down for like the whole year, I don't think Anda was any worse than people expected him to be. Who he played badly, everyone expected him to play badly, and Someday played pretty well. Like, I think that it's just like the decision to just not have like a decent mid laner has to be like the core of it. Like, you had underperformance from 1 out of your 4 players, or 1 out of your 5 players. Having underperformance from 1 out of 5 players, I feel like shouldn't be enough to just be like, oh, we went from being a second place contender to being a last place contender,
They were like, because when we talk about these teams, you have to also talk about the expectations for these teams. Like, what was the expectation for 100 Thieves?
It was to be one of the top 3. It was top 3.
Yeah, top 3, top 4.
Yeah, make Worlds top 3, like maybe even contend. Like, when they overspent this year, I viewed it as they feel like they're close to TL and they can beat TL. Or else, why are you spending? Like, they viewed this roster as something that could potentially challenge TL, when in reality, what they got was a roster that's not good enough to make playoffs. Maybe if they started the season over again with Ryu and Amazing in summer,
they would make playoffs.
They would make playoffs, but they didn't make playoffs while being the second highest spender. Like, like, management has to look at how they handled off season.
This is so you're saying that I don't think it's just one lane that underperformed in Saligo. I think it was 3. I think it was the bot lane. You pay them that much to be core JJ and double lift, and instead you got a middle of the road bot lane for
I don't even think that's not my argument. I'm not saying that mid lane underperformed. I think mid lane was supposed to suck. Like, when you put that roster together, you should know going into it, our fucking rookie mid laner that's never played on stage before, that just came out of like fucking scouting grounds, like, that is gonna be your bad lane. Like, that lane's gonna suck. I mean, jungle is gonna be a weak point too. Like, you have an NA player that was like on a 10th place team, and then like he got upgraded to 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves, after Medias like left, they barely skated into like playoffs or something. Like, I don't know. It just didn't seem like they had a good plan going in. Like, the players did what you expected. It's just you have to expect them to suck at a certain point.
And the thing I want to ask you guys, and the thing I want you guys to judge teams on, is like, what was the expectation for this team and what was the result? And when you do that, that's where 100 Thieves is probably the worst performing in terms of that. Like, maybe like TSM is another one, like expectation versus reality, but that is what happened to 100 Thieves. Like, expectation versus reality was so disconnected.
I mean, I guess a team that I would even want to bring up here would be Clutch, because if you look at like what they started the season with, they're another team that it's like, okay, they spent money for Huni, Lyra, Piglet. Like, that was supposed to be like our Korean team that was supposed to have a shot at like being top 4, potentially top 3. And I mean, I guess they ended up making playoffs with this roster, but it didn't look anything like people expected.
Yeah, and if you go back to spring, they are one of the teams like expectation versus reality was dog shit.
But I think the way that Clutch's like whole year is played out is something that we knew was a real possibility. There's no way we expected to be talking about 100 Thieves as the team that didn't even make playoffs the whole year. Like, there's not a world where that happened. Whereas we saw the Korean combustion happening and Piglet being toxic and the team falling apart. Well, I think everyone saw that as a possibility, maybe like a 20% possibility, but there was 0% chance that 100 Thieves would not make playoffs. I think that's why this is so damning. And I think that's why I can't just blame management, because Clutch got their shit together and were able to make it to playoffs. Like, this roster should have been able to get their shit together and make it to playoffs, and they were not.
No, it's not pick one and kill them. It's pick one you think is like the biggest. And if you have to pick one, then what would it be?
It would be management. You look at Someday's contract on Academy. Like, just point to that. You brought Huhi in as the guy and then let him go a split later. Like, point to that. There's a lot there that leaves a lot to be desired. So if it has to be one, then it would be that's the biggest one. But I think players share a good portion of the burden, and like, yeah, I think players deserve a good portion of the burden as well. All right, so that's 100 Thieves. Let's do the one phrase for all of them. I went first last time. Loco, you go first this time.
Mine would be great clothes, mad team.
Dom, you up?
Get someone who actually knows League to make your management decisions instead of just like going after high named players. Like, you need to get somebody who has worked in the industry for a while, knows the game, have them do it. Somebody at least to go along with probably doing it.
Got two great candidates right here, 100 Thieves. Go give them that Cleveland Cavaliers dollars. Right. Give them the money.
You could not pay me enough.
Yeah, Dom's getting the Marvel dollars.
Fuck no, I'm not. I don't want to get in that mess.
Cody and Meteos were the issue. Let's move on. All right, FlyQuest. So FlyQuest is the only one here that still has the redemption story arc, because they currently do have enough championship points to be in the gauntlet. That remains to be seen based off of the performance of Clutch. Is it? Or is it both Clutch and Optic? I think it's both Clutch and Optic. If one of them do well, they're safe. If both of them do well and upset, I think FlyQuest season is over. So we can talk about this season specifically and then talk about this year, because this is a unique case here with FlyQuest. So FlyQuest coming off of a third, fourth place split, show up thinking, hey, same roster's going to work. They're the friendship team. Pobe looking not that bad. And then all of a sudden Pobe turns into Goodwill because he's giving away everything at discount prices. That was quite the biggest turnaround, I think, for a single player in the split from good to bad. What are your thoughts on this FlyQuest season?
I have to blame players. Like, I cannot believe how badly Pobelter performed. I cannot believe how badly Turtle performed. Like, Pobelter and Turtle were both in contention for being some of the worst players in their roles, and they're absolute veterans. Like, that should never be performing at that level. So I'm shocked at the level that Pobelter and Turtle showed throughout the split.
I personally, I don't know. It's weird. I think players had a huge amount to do with it, but I really hate seeing things like what the management did, where like you sign a player and then he doesn't come for the first 4 weeks. I feel like that just ruins the morale of the team when it comes to like having your team make a push towards summer split. Like, if you're gonna sign new players, make sure that they're like actually, like, if you want to integrate them into your team, make sure that they're actually there when the split starts. Like, I hate this like thing of like, oh, you got Wadid, oh, but he's still in Europe, or he went back to Korea. Okay, he might come week 3. Okay, he got here week 3, but he might play week 4. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, you have players, you sign them, get them here before the split starts. Give your team the full amount of time to play. Like, I will never go players if the management just doesn't give their fucking team the full amount of time that they like should have.
Absolutely agree with you. Management should make sure players are there 100% early as possible. I'll say this about FlyQuest. I think their management is good and they do get shit done on time. With the whole, I don't want to be political, but it is much harder to get visas and much harder to get green card in current climate with our current presidency than it has been in the past. So I'm not sure if it's a FlyQuest thing where they started on things late. I have no idea how they went through the process, but I know Nick Fan. I worked with him on Team Liquid. He's done an amazing job in terms of handling visas and handling paperwork, and he's GM and he does a lot of CEO level stuff for FlyQuest. So he's been really fucking good in terms of that. So I agree with you, Dom. Like, they need to get players here on time, but it's really fucking hard right now in terms of like visa and green card.
Yeah, even if it is hard, then I feel like you have to take a different approach. But like from talking to a player, it's like you play 3 weeks with a player that you just think is dog shit on your team, and like it like makes you not even try, or it makes it feel okay to lose because it's like, oh, we're not even playing with our real roster yet. You know, like I don't know, I just don't like the mentality that puts on a team when you're just playing with somebody that you don't want to play with. You get hyped up. Oh, we have Wadid coming. Oh shit, this guy was in semifinals of Worlds last year. He's probably really good. Like, can't wait to play with him. That he's gonna be what we need to get, you know, maybe to the next level. Like, maybe we can get, you know, maybe 3rd this split or something. We got 4th last. Like, going from that to fucking, like, oh, we have to play with this guy who we think is dog shit for 4 fucking weeks. Mm-hmm. He's running it down every game. Like, it just feels like it makes the players give up in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I agree with Dom here. I feel like, for clarification, I think this case is a little unique again because this is mid-season, mid-split. So was he a free agent or was he on one of those middling teams when he got picked up?
Rogue.
He wasn't even starting for Rogue.
Yeah,
right.
He was on Rogue's academy team at that
So
point.
I think it's one of those things where they had to wait till the contract was up or they came to terms. Like, I think if
but
it was
I mean, there's other examples of like Ruin came.
Yeah, and they said there's like 3 new imports. I think Amazing, Ruin, and FBI, and all 3 of them like didn't have didn't have visa issues. So
yeah,
I really don't know what happened within the management. Just historically, I know Nick's usually on top of things, and
I know Nick. I think Nick is good.
Yeah. The 3 of us know Nick. We know him as one of the best GMs, but I think in this case, like, that's not the player's fault. That's not the coach's fault. That falls on management there. That is a sore spot out of a normally fantastically ran ship. Mm-hmm. So I think that's pretty tough because it does. I kind of follow along here with Dom. Like, it does put the team behind. I would say it's a little interesting that we moved on and everyone moved on from JJ so quickly after like rookie the split type performances and how high he was, but like, I'm not trying to rewrite history. He was playing pretty butt. Like, that was pretty butt, and it warranted the move from Wadid. The Wadid move was supposed to be just for a just in case thing, and they hit just in case really early. So that can go on the players, that can go on JJ, that can go on Pobe and whatnot, but I think it does, when you look at the root of it, it does come back to a visa issue that ruined team morale for the team that is all about team morale.
No, I have to disagree with that. Yes, visa issues probably played a part. Yes, Woody not being there probably had morality or had issues on their morals, but like fucking Pobelter and Turtle, like inexcusable.
Yeah,
They played bad. Inexcusable.
It's hard to say because they obviously, like, you don't get 9th if you have 2 out of these 3 things good. If you have good coaches, good players, but bad management, you don't get fucking 9th, right? Mm-hmm. If you have good fucking players, good management, bad coaching, you don't get 9th. If you have bad fucking players, good coaching, good management, maybe then you can get 9th. But like, most of the time, it's going to be 2 out of those 3 are going to be kind of shaky if you're a 9th place team.
I think the thing that I'm just a little, I just want to double check on, and I'll have to do some research on, is Turtle. Was Turtle that bad this season?
Yes, like, he was god awful. I know he was absolutely fucking awful.
Especially in the beginning of the split. I think he was really, really bad in the beginning of the split. Like, just so many mechanics. Like, he's doing what Logan was saying earlier of like, he's the AD carry that just dies right before the team fight.
And he's bad in lane. When Cody was doing that, Cody was decent in lane. Turtle was bad in lane and also getting deleted in team fights.
Yeah, you're right. Turtle is dead last out of every single AD carry that appeared on the Rift.
I probably should have put him lower in my AD carry tier list. I gave him credit for being Wild Turtle.
I gave him credit too. I gave him too much credit too. He was 251 gold down at 10 minutes, the last of all 80 carries. Let's look at his death percentage. Death percentage was also the lowest, so out of all 80 carries. So he's actually, again, I think it's a product of the team being bad than Turtle being bad. Like, it took him a while to get over the JJ era, and then him and Wadid didn't really gel consistently. So I don't know if I want to put it on him that bad.
I just think he played bad this split. I think he just had a bad split.
All right. Let's give our final thoughts and then move on to Echo Fox. For me...
All right, Dom, you up first.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have final thoughts on this team. It's just weird. Like I have no clue what they like. I think it's
they're
just
like Clutch from last year, where they're gonna play Gauntlet. They have to play Gauntlet.
I think that they just need to like build around Santorin and Viper. That's what I would say.
For me, it'd be actually use your import sauce on important players. That's all they need to do. Just use
Import mid. Import mid.
I think mine is this the end of the POB?
Okay.
We don't know. And,
I don't think it'll be the end of him.
All right, not the end of POB, maybe the end of POB, but this was historically bad after Loco and I were part of a historically bad mid lane split. All right, final one, Echo Fox. I'm not sure if you guys did, but I sat down and listened to the whole Rick Fox, Rich Lewis story. And the story of this Echo Fox squad is sad. I am very interested to hear about the whole, the other side of it, the racist guy that's like, there's another side of the story that's coming out.
No,
that has nothing to do with their play, but I just want to let you guys know that it's a good story. If you haven't heard it, go check out Richard Lewis, go check out the other guy's story and come up with your own facts. But damn, Rick Fox is a cool dude. The fact that I had to spend like a minute and a half saying all that when we get to Echo Fox kind of shows the state that Echo Fox is in. Loco, go ahead, go to town.
What do you blame other than management? I think players.
I was gonna blame coaches.
Really, I want to hear your take.
Okay, I think their coaches just like the coaches were definitely not able to manage the talent that they had, right? Like they don't have great players, but I think that they got less from the players in Summer Split than what we should have got, right? Like Solo is playing really well. He's apparently having a like mental breakdown. They're fucking benching him. Rush is leaving mid-split. They got Mike Young. The team just looks in shambles. It looks like they have no concept of early game. Like they look like the most lost team in the league when it comes to something different happening in the game. When something goes awry, that team just completely collapses. And I think that that has a lot to do with like how they're coached. Like they don't really know how to come back in games. They don't really know how to deal with level ones. They don't know how to play around objectives. They just don't know anything.
Dude, I cannot believe you don't have management as number one. They kicked Phoenix. They brought Phoenix back. They picked up Phoenix and Rush, and they kicked Rush and bought out Mike Young.
Yeah, no, their management is really fucking bad. Their management is really fucking bad.
I think they literally have the worst management out of all LCS. They don't have the worst coaching staff out of all of the LCS teams, but they for sure have the worst management out of all.
Worst coaching staff? If they don't have the worst coaching staff, I would have
go ahead, Loco. You're on the spot. Now Dom's doing it. It's not even me this time.
I would say that I would say they have the worst management, worst coaching staff. Players. Do they have the worst? They might have the worst players too. Yeah, they have the worst players too. They definitely have the worst players.
Oh, I'm trying
they
to
have
think.
the worst everything. Holy shit. Who has better players, or who has worse players than them?
We thought for a while the worst players were Clutch.
FlyQuest is the only thing you could say. No,
FlyQuest maybe.
Clutch has good too. Clutch has at least Cody Vulcan, and they're like functional players that could be on a good roster.
Well, we didn't think Cody at the beginning of the split. Definitely, we were high on Vulcan, and we were like, Huni can be good.
Right.
But
for Echo Fox, they have bad coaching staff, but their coaching staff doesn't scream like, oh my fucking god, what the fuck were you doing? For Golden Guardians, their coaching staff screams to me, what the fuck were you doing? So there's at least that. But yeah, like I think their management is just so fucking below every other management. Even if they have the worst coaching staff, it's like 9-10. For Echo Fox, for their management, it's like 9th, and then a fucking like Grand Canyon, and then 10th at Echo Fox in terms of management.
Yeah, no, they're actually just completely ridiculous with their moves. Even starting from last year, like just the way that they treat players is disgusting. They bench them 5 hours before the trade deadline so they can't find all that shit is just garbage. Their management is historically bad. I don't know. I just feel like maybe I'm just used to their management being bad, to be honest. It's been bad for a while. It's not like this is like the first time their management is bad. It's been bad. It's always been terrible.
Can you imagine if Rick Fox wasn't the face of this team, like how we would treat their management and like what they've done? Just remove the name Rick Fox and think of like stuff they've accomplished in the last 2 years. Like it is just god awful. Like this was such a mismanaged team, and their public appearance and like kind of their public relationship was fixed by Rick Fox just being like a really likable human being.
Which is crazy to me because like he was like one of the most like disliked players in the NBA. Like he was just known for like talking shit, and he was just the guy that was getting under everyone's skin. But now
he was kind of an enforcer.
Yeah, he was just like the guy that would go in and like foul a bunch of people. It was like, all right, good shit. Like,
all right, here's another championship. You have to go management here, just because I think the coaching staff had to deal with the players that were given, and I think again we have to put Apollo Hakaho like much lower on the bot lane duo tier list based off of their results and their play now. But I still think that they can be and should be a bot lane that is in the middle of the pack, like a fifth, sixth best bot lane. But they were just so crushed, absolutely crushed by the jungle role. Like the jungle role was just such
they have
ass.
No jungler.
Exactly, it felt to the point where it was like 4v5. You could call that 4v6, and then when you think of a player that was stuck in elo hell, if you got to pick one player that you would pick on a bad team and put him on a good team, to me that's Solo. That screams Solo, right? Like it has to be Solo out of everyone in the league. And you know, he got to the point where he got benched for whatever reason. I don't have any information of that. And you know, I love me some Samson Lorlo Jackson, but like Solo was playing so well, and he just couldn't get the support he needed. And you know, you just look at that, and that all seems like management to me. That all seems like, hey, make a cake, and here's like some dirt, rocks, and water, and go make it happen. And it just not able to happen at all.
Who's the dirt? Mike Young, or is he the rocks?
He's the rocks. He's the rocks.
Okay.
Phoenix is the dirt because you left it behind, you walked on it, and you went back.
Why's Phoenix got to be the dirt though? Wait, what? I don't understand.
Is he the water?
Management.
Who's the water?
He's the water. He's the water.
The water's Solo, Solo and Apollo Hakaho. So, man, I that's another duo that I hope that just doesn't break up and get another opportunity. Like, but I just don't. They're 10th place bot lane. Like, what can you do? So, TSM Apollo. Anybody?
No.
Okay. No, that was a God. Immediate throw. I was just kidding. This Echo Fox roster. So they're undergoing a sale right now. They're not going to be Echo Fox in the long term. They're being sold to Stan Kroenke, who owns the Colorado Avalanche, Denver Nuggets, Arsenal, and LA Gladiators. So
and they used to own P1. That's the big one.
Yeah, and it's partially P1. Actually, the P1 owners suing the Kroenkes because they're not a part of this LCS thing. It's really interesting. It is so much more interesting than Echo Fox Summer Split. You should go look it up and read it. With all that background knowledge, if you had to redo one, you only get to do one. You get to redo the staff, redo the management, or redo the players. Who do you revamp, Dom? Let's go with you, because I know that you said
I think the
staff,
coaching
but like
is bad, but like I think that if you can, I think that the management has like the most impact on all that stuff.
Yeah,
because the management gets to choose the players and the coaching.
They're the ones that gave the rocks in the dirt.
Yeah, so like I feel like just the management is the foundation, and if you ever have the option to improve the foundation, go for that.
Look at what you got.
Management. This management has historically proven that they don't know what to do in LCS.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement, except we've seen teams with shit management and great players have a successful organization. So maybe players, maybe you look for another mid laner. I don't know. Man, there's just so many problems for this team to fix. They weren't able to fix it all in time. And after a great spring split, everyone's just going to remember the last year of Echo Fox in the LCS as a tough one. All right. So that's everyone here. That's all the teams. We ran through it. The summer split regular season is done and dusted. I think this was a very entertaining split. I think we had fun with the split. A big boost. Jat came back. Jat was great. That was a lot of fun to see it inject life back into the LCS. How did you feel this split went, guys?
It went really differently from what I thought it would. It was really interesting in terms of like 100 Thieves rising up, Clutch rising up, Optic having a really good start. Yeah, CLG rising up. I thought TSM TLC9 would continue their dominance, like TSM falling off absolutely, and some of the other teams rising up, what made the split way more interesting than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I thought it was like one of the better splits that I've watched. Yeah, it was one of my favorite splits to watch of LCS because like there's so many different things that could have happened with the standings like week to week. Like going into the final week, having 4 different teams that are really close within like one game of each other for playoffs is just adds to the excitement of it. I mean, obviously there's a clear favorite this time, which is TL, which maybe that could kind of kill some of the hype. But in general, there's like a clear first and a clear last. It makes the whole like middle of the pack so much more spicy to watch. So it felt like for this season, it was like every game kind of mattered. Like when I was watching LCS, it's like, okay, which games here don't matter? Seems like almost always all of them mattered, which made it like, you know, good to watch. Like it felt like there was something always on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And so to credit, that's one of the main reasons why they went back to best of 1. And, you know, me not being a rat anymore, but it's a decision that came 2 years ago. And I think they got the league to the point where it was every game mattered and it was fun to invest your time into the league and pay attention. So, anyway, rest in peace, summer 2019 regular season, a lot of fun, still redemption arcs here for Optic and for my boy, Matthew Definitely Chen, already defeated Golden Guardians. Keep an eye on, can Team Liquid stay perfect, and can TSM get their shit together before it's too late? And happy to see Clutch go out in a happy note. Did I touch on every team?
Yeah.
CLG, please don't choke. All right. I think that's all that we had for today's show.
Whoa, tier list.
What else you got?
Tier list.
Oh, no shit. Yeah, we got tier list. My bad. We went ahead and talked NA 80 carries. This is difficult because they're like, do we put 11 80 carries? Do we put 12 80 carries? Because you got lost in there as well. And so I think we just put 10. We just put 10, but I put in 12 because I'm difficult and where it should be. And so Loco has that. He'll reveal it. No update from Zyrene, right, Loco?
Yeah, no update from Zyrene. So I have the tier list up.
Okay, so tier list is up right now. I'm going to take a peek at what you guys put because I didn't see. Loco, you take the lead because I can't see it right now.
Okay, so I put Doublelift first, and then a huge fucking chasm. Like, Doublelift, the difference between Doublelift and the second best AD carry is greater than any other role between their first and second. Doublelift is just by far the best AD carry in NA right now. So yeah. For me, it went Doublelift, huge gap, Stixxay, Arrow, Cody, Sneaky, Bang, and then another huge gap, Zben, FBI, Deathly, Apollo, Turtle.
I mean, it was so hard for me to make this list because, like, putting Stixxay at second felt so weird to me. Like, I kept on doing it.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing.
But I was like, really? Stixxay the second best AD carry? Like, it just doesn't feel real or something. Like, it just did. When I think about somebody who's normally considered the second best AD carry, right? Like, let's look at Spring Split, right? Let's say Sneaky was the second best AD carry. He was like good, right? He's competing. Yeah. Or maybe you say Sven is the second best AD carry, whatever.
Yeah.
They're competitive players, but it doesn't feel like Stixxay is anywhere close to as good as Doublelift. I don't think you'd ever say, oh yeah, you know what, like let's trade Stixxay for Doublelift. It feels like just no one is good besides for Doublelift.
Yeah.
In LCS. That's how I see it.
Sure. Like the only time you might have ever made that argument was at spring 2016 when he beat Doublelift, and even then that was mostly Yellow Star weighing down Doublelift. But when was the last time we said Stixxay was that good? This is kind of nuts. But going down my list, I wanted to include FBI. Lost would be in there above FBI, but I look at my man's. Definitely now on an opportunity with the solid team to win, and he dumpstered the crap out of Golden Guardians, the team that got rid of him. Arrow's had himself a quietly solid season. Again, we talked a lot about Meteos on that team. We talked a lot about Crown on that team, but I thought Arrow was instrumental in keeping Big from like feeding his ass off like he did on the Bard game. Cody had himself a solid season, I think, because Arrow's successes were higher. I thought that I'd give the nod to Arrow over Cody, but I very easily see why Cody could be put in front of Arrow. I think 100 Thieves' success came off of Bang and Afro stepping up, and so I think that was good for him. Again, a season where I don't think he lived to his expectations, but he did get better as the season went on, and I would like to build a team around Bang. from there, that's where I find Sneaky. I find Sneaky at that point, still above Sven, because Sven is just gone. I put Turtle up there, and I think this is where I messed up, Dom. You and I like agreed maybe I should have put Turtle behind Sven, but even then, they're so far down the list. We're just not used to seeing them that far down the list. Is kind of doesn't matter. And then FBI and Apollo. Like FBI, I wanted to put him last just because they weren't the fix. But I can't forget his games where the team was breaking around him or contracts was like getting bad engages around him. And when he had the opportunity to carry, he did carry.
This was the hardest list to do by far.
Yeah.
Daniel, start with the Deathly one. You put Deathly at third. That's the one that just sticks out and like you have to fucking explain.
Yeah, of course. I think again, Deathly is a player. You know what you're going to get out of him. You know
you're going to get a mediocre performance.
You're going
to get a very good laning performance, a dominant laning performance, and given in the right situation, he knows how to team fight. Right? You're the one that's like.
Wait,
he's dominant in lane?
He does not know. He does not know how to team fight. That's the thing, though. He does not know how to team fight. That's why he plays Ezreal Varus. Ezreal Varus. Okay.
I'm looking up the stats. The Ezreal. Okay, he's good in team fights. He's dominant in lane. I think there's a lot of value.
What's his lane like stats? What's his 15 like?
All right, gold difference at 15. It's with Cloud9. It was 509.
No, that's one
with Golden Guardians. With Golden Guardians, wait. With
Mm-hmm.
Golden Guardians, it was 229. He's first and third on the list.
I
So
don't know.
he's dominant in lane. Everyone always sleeps at the fact that he was dominant in lane. And don't forget, his lane partner was the kindest boy in the LCS Ole. Like everyone forgets this. Like he was playing up to the wall.
I don't know. I never watched Golden Guardians games, and I was like, damn, they're ball carrying. Like, sure, he might have had decent laning stats, but like, how much of that was he generating himself versus like?
What, contracts going bot? He didn't do that. Contracts didn't come bot.
Contracts going bot a ton.
Whoa.
He just goes bot. He just ends.
Let's start with your laning stuff. Okay, so here's the thing about laning stats that really fucked it this split, and something you have to always consider. Did this AD carry ever play Sona? That's the first thing you have to ask before you check the AD carry stats. Like, did this AD carry ever play Sona? So let's start with that for Deathly. Did he ever play Sona?
I don't think so.
He never played Sona.
I don't think so.
He never played Sona. He consistently played stuff like Varus and Ezreal, and then he stopped, and then he got he got traded, and then he doesn't have a large sample size. So I understand he has good stats, but those stats are so skewed once you understand the context of what's actually happening this split. So yes, we can
What's
talk.
actually happening? Explain to me, Loco.
He's not playing Sona. He's not playing Sona, and he's playing stuff like Ezreal and Varus. Ezreal runs Klepto. Varus is dominant in lane, so he naturally should have better laning stats than other people, just due to the champion choice alone. So his laning stats is a little bit deceptive when you think of like the actual context of what's happening.
I didn't think about that.
He's a decent laner. He's not an amazing laner. And in terms
he's
of
a great laner because if
No,
you
what
look
the
at
fuck?
his wait. If you look at his experience at 10, it's negative 161. You want to know why? Because Ole was never in lane. He was 1v2 most of the time and still generated a lead. He knew exactly what the limit was to play to. And that's why he, to me, if he's given an opportunity on the team that plays a little bit through him and has a laner that can work with him, he's going to be a freaking monster. Like,
oh my god, this is you straight trolling. This is you straight trolling.
But I mean, it's also just like, I mean, yeah, when you play Ezreal, like your support's gonna leave you because you're useless. Like, I don't think that he was like a solid AD. I don't know. I never viewed him as like a good player.
Dan.
In LCS.
Okay, I'll ask you this. Okay, you get a shot.
Yeah.
You get a shot to GM for another team. Would you take ADs in this order? Would you take double it for Stixxay second, double it Stixxay, or off the table? You have all 7 AD carries available to you. Would you pick up Deathly?
I think. Yeah, I think I do.
Oh my
right?
God.
Do I take Arrow here? Do I take Cody here? Like I've seen Cody at.
I would take Cody. 100%.
I would take
I've
Cody.
seen Cody. No way, dude.
Cody
no way.
Oh my god.
He was on that
Cody
100
is
Thieves team, dog.
Cody's better than him, and he's a resident. And then Bang and Arrow are definitely better than him. But
Oh
Why
my
you
god.
take him over them.
No way. I take definitely. He's cheaper. He's a North American grown talent.
So is
He's
Cody.
been
So is Cody
chained
a
up.
North American talent also.
Yes, and you got to see what a roster built around him was like. See you later, Cody. You're out. Also, you got to see him at Worlds. Let me flash forward and die. Tight. I think it's great that he's playing well now. I think he's one of the main reasons why Clutch made a solid comeback. But let me see what this kid's got, because every time there's been a very clear blocker from him achieving that goal. And it's not like, oh, it's a mental block. Like, legit, they're not playing towards bot lane. Legit, like,
Well, he's not great when he's being played towards. That's the thing, though. Definitely wasn't someone that was great with like ganks.
He just doesn't he doesn't carry the game the same way Cody Sun does. Like, when Cody Sun gets a lead, he'll fucking dick the team fight.
So then, to me, this sounds like
This guy does not dick the team fight. He gets dicked by the team fight.
He does not know how to team fight. He plays very passively, and he plays on the outer edges of team fight with Ezreal and Varus. That's why his damage is still good. But when you actually look at him play in team fights, like, it's really deceptive. Definitely, it's actually such a great case study of why statistics can give you incorrect analysis without the context. If you look at his teamfight stats and if you look at his laning stats, like, he should be a great player, but you take in the context of him not playing Sona, him not playing a lot of Ezreal and Varus, like the games lasting a really long time and how they teamfight, like, you can see, like, he isn't the world's best player. But in terms of stats, he can be really high up there.
I mean, it's also just like this style. Like, those champions are just poke champions. Like, you're gonna have it's so much easier to like put out damage on fucking like Kai'Sa in like a 50-minute poked off game, you know? So it's just, I just never thought that he's not an AD carry that impresses me. Like, I would say that somebody like FBI even has more potential in my mind than somebody like Deathly, even though I think FBI is terrible, right?
why FBI?
Because he like has, like, you can see that he has like the idea of
Like carry.
he can read the team fight and know, like, okay, this is the where I need to take over the fucking fight. Here's my opportunity, like that type of shit. Where I feel like definitely kind of just exists within the team fight, and then it's like, oh, we're winning, and then they just fucking like walk forward slowly and, you know, win the team fight because they already won it. Whereas FBI is like he understands, like, he looks at the game differently. He has a better, like, so much of being an AD carry in a team fight is about vision, like being able to see like which key spells are used from the enemies and like how much aggression you can put forward when certain cooldowns are down. I don't think that definitely like sees all that stuff. I feel like he just plays like standard backline AD carry. He's like the power of evil of AD carries.
He's like, my cooldowns are off, so I will dish out damage, and I'm too far away to get damage.
Yeah, he's just gonna hit the front line. He's just gonna hit the front line the whole fight, and that's just gonna be what it is. Which is what you do most of the time. But there also is like a next level to team fighting AD carry that you see from the best players in the world. Like, you see players like Viper, you see players like Uzi take over team fights as AD carries. Like, one person dies and they just know it's like fucking go time. I never see definitely like have that that switch in his head where he just knows it is my time to like win this fight for us.
Daniel, make your final thoughts on Deathly, and let's move on to the other parts of tier list.
I did. I already made all of them. Deathly's. I'm interested in, because we know Stixay, right? And like your question about building around the roster. If we had Stixay, Cody, and Deathly, are we all picking Stixay?
It's not like. Yes, I have. Okay, sure. I would pick Stixay, but I'm not like, oh my fucking god, Stixay is the greatest ever. It's like the other guys are just kind of meh, and like AD carry pool is just fucking garbo right now in NA.
Yeah, I mean, the point that I wanted to talk about is how do you have Sneaky at 5th over Bang on your list?
On mine?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, because I felt like, okay, so Sneaky had a good last couple weeks, but like, he had a good game versus TL at least, and a good Caitlyn game this weekend. But like, I felt like this was one of his worst splits he's had. Like, I think so highly of Sneaky, but I think that this is like the worst split I've seen him play.
Oh, so I'll start with one thing about this AD carry tier list that was really hard to do, and I think you guys also had the hard because of the same reasons. Is it's so hard to get past some of the names on here. Like, the names like Sneaky, names like Bang, names like Zeben, names like Turtle. It's so fucking hard to get past.
Names like Deathly.
Well,
sorry.
It's so fucking hard to get past the names of these players and kind of what they did in the past, and to have like accurate rankings. And I think it also plays into some of the higher placed AD carries too. So players like, for me, Stixay, Arrow, Cody, these players had good splits but their name and the name value of these players are so much lower than the other ones. Like it was really hard to rate. So going back to your original question, like how can I rate Bang below Sneaky? I didn't think Bang had an amazing split. I think like Bang was like functional some of the times, but he played incredibly passively in the start of summer, and he wasn't getting a lot of shit done. And we look at Sneaky in the same light, and then we like berate Sneaky, but because he had bad games and like he has other things fighting against him, like Sneaky in lane, like Sneaky doing cosplay. But I think Sneaky and Bang had like very comparable performances, and there were just so many other things to blame on 100 Thieves.
I felt like just Bang didn't have like the terrible laning stats that Sneaky must have had during like portions of the split. There was so many games where Sneaky and Zeyzal just got absolutely just fucking destroyed in lane, you know? And I didn't feel like 100 Thieves. I thought 100 Thieves bot lane was actually for most of the split after the roster change.
100 Thieves bot lane got away a lot of times by being able to run Xayah Rakan, and then when teams started contesting Xayah Rakan, they found another good footing, and after playing Braum and playing more of like just backline carry style, another big one for me placing Sneaky above Bang, when Sneaky's in 1-3-1, he is miles better than Bang. And also C9 was willing to play Sona Tahm Kench and Sona Taric, where 100 Thieves stayed away from that the whole time, and they were stuck banning Sona almost the entire split. So there's a lot of little things that play into it. I agree, like this tier list was really hard to do.
Yeah, I mean it was a lot of fun to do, but I think it was difficult, and all of us will recognize that these are some big names down there in the middle and at the bottom, and I think out of all the players in this role, or all the players in this role, these are the safest out of the players that probably won't get bumped or moved. They have at least a split, except maybe Sven. Because Sven seems really not the happiest right now.
Sven played really bad. I honestly probably should have put Sven lower, but it's so put Sven that low. Like I still think he's like, I think he's playing so bad for who he is, but I still feel like he's good in there, you know?
Do you think he did worse than Turtle? Do you think he did worse than Apollo?
I think Turtle probably should have been last. I don't know. Because that guy played so bad. Like, this is the problem. Like, they all played so bad. Sven, like, in my mind. Like, could you put Sven lower than I did, Loco? Like, I don't know, man.
I think we have him at the same spot. The only thing different is you don't have Deathly in your list.
What the fuck? Loco, I didn't see that.
No, Dom doesn't have Deathly in his list. Dom just picked 10. Yeah. We should have picked
definitely that low on yours.
Deathly wasn't that good, Daniel. I honestly.
Wait, do you really think the FBI was like not the worst?
Not the worst? Yeah, I think Turtle was the worst. I think Turtle had no redeeming factors. FBI, we talked about like few redeeming factors with like the Kaizen stuff. Turtle had no redeeming factors.
Yeah, that is true that Turtle had like no good points and FBI at least had good points. I just felt like FBI was so in like so many, like he just lost the game for his team so many times that I could not just put him as the worst player from the AD carry role. Like the game versus TL, the Victor game, this last game, like there's just so many games where he's just losing the game alone that I just had to put him at last.
It's hard. I just what to say. Okay, so for FBI, they force 3v3s. They force 3v3s. They lose out on the 3v3s. Sometimes they lose straight up 2v2s, but like they did have bright spots. Like the games where they played Lux, the games where FBI played Kai'Sa, like there were at least like few bright spots. For FlyQuest bot lane.
The game where they played Lux, I know the one you're talking about. FBI start like 0-3 in lane in that game is Ezreal. Like I think that game was like, I'm not sure if I'm misremembering it, but I remember like there was, I think, a Lux game from that team where you saw fucking FBI, like Golden Guardians, like FBI just fucking ran it down on Ezreal before the team fight phase happened. They ended up just like getting some picks and getting back into the game.
Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, unfortunate. Dom, I had one on yours, which is arrow that low over Bang and Cody. Like, what
below
were your thoughts on
Bang,
that?
below Bang is like a shocker for me for arrow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can understand Cody, but Bang was like, man.
So I think for at the end, I was not very happy with like how Arrow played. I think Arrow played worse as Split went on. Like I was not very happy with like how he played in this final week as well. So I guess for me, the thing that I didn't see out of Eric, like I didn't see the carry performances. Like it seems like he was consistent in the beginning of the split, but then it never felt like he was hard dicking the game. You know, he never could pull through.
There was a game where he hard dicked TL bot lane.
The
Draven Lucian.
Yep.
He hard
the Draven
dicked.
one is okay. So that's the only game that I agree with.
That was the best bot lane in the league, though. Like I feel like it's weighted more than just one game.
Yeah, it's the best bot lane in the league, but they also like it
Lost.
was Draven into Yumi, right? That was the reason
Lucian
why they picked
Yumi.
Draven.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
Lucian Yumi into Draven. So it's like that's his special pick in his certain situation. I didn't see like I don't know, man. I didn't see like enough of that or something.
You know who else plays Draven?
Oh my gosh, just Daniel, shut up.
All right,
you talked enough about it. Shut up.
I'm done.
Does definitely actually even play like a good Draven?
He played one Draven and it was okay. It was okay.
Why are you downplaying my boy Loco?
Okay.
Doublelift is just the only human AD carry in the. God damn.
Yeah,
Kind of true though.
He is. He's a monster, and I think one thing we'll take away from this list, yeah, Stick stays there, but Doublelift's so damn good. And it's such a pleasure to watch and get to enjoy his games and enjoy him as a competitor that whenever he decides to hang it up, hopefully like 5 years down the road after he's won 2 world championships, it'll be a sad day. But until then, he dominates NA, and it's great. It's great to watch.
But 80 carries, like this split, this was the weirdest tier list to do. And I think if you did like a Reddit tier list versus like analyst tier list, I would guess that this tier list has like the biggest differences because all the big names outside of Doublelift was kind of garbo, and a lot of the little guys did well. So I think a lot of Redditors will just make like tier lists off of like names, and in terms of names, like that's where it differ the most.
Put like Bang second. If I see Bang second, all right. Your opinion does not count anymore.
All
right, chat. When you guys see this, go to Loco's Twitter and put down your tier list. I want a ton of them on there.
Daniel, you put definitely third. You're one of the Redditors.
I am not one of the Redditors. I'm a respected insider. All right, that's enough. I don't need to.
You don't need to dig further. You don't need to dig deeper. Don't dig deeper. Don't dig deeper.
All right, guys. Look, do you have anything left? Or
No.
we're hitting 2.5 hours here.
All right, let's start closing out.
Oh my god, it's almost 3 hours. Holy shit.
Yeah, I know. Fantastic season. It's been a lot of fun. We're not done yet. We've got playoffs next week. We'll go check on Zyrene. Hopefully he still has a pulse. He should be fine. And we'll come back at you next week with, is it playoffs next week or is it just Academy finals next
I
week?
haven't even looked up the schedule. I assumed it was playoffs
Yeah,
next week.
can you look it up?
All right, let's check schedule real quick.
No, it should be next week. Yeah, it's next week.
Wow.
All right,
soon.
sweet.
Yep. Sick.
All right.
All right, we'll check in with that, and we'll check in with the league, and also a finale on Saligo Watch as him and the rest of 100 Thieves Academy, following his lead, march into playoffs. It has nothing to do with someday in the top lane. Actually, question. With 100 Thieves out, could they put in some of their LCS guys onto the Academy roster?
I have no idea.
Do you know if
No.
that's
There's a hard lock. I forgot. So. Actually, no. There isn't a hard lock anymore. You can have You can be mutual. So yeah, I'm not sure on the rules. So it used to be there was a hard lock date where you have to pick 7 Academy players and 7 LCS players, and you can't be mutually on both. And then they had a rule change where you could be mutually on both, but they also have rules regarding playoffs, and I'm not sure if you can be on both.
Right. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. Let's go, Max Song. Teach them the ways of Saligo. Until then, we will be waiting and hoping for the best. We'll catch you guys next Monday for Facecheck. Thanks, guys.
All right. Later.
Peace, guys.